purging is at last at hand. The day of doom is here. All that is evil, all that are lies, your parents, your leaders, those who would call themselves your judges, those who have lied and corrupted the earth, they shall all be cleansed.
Good day, Sir Kenaz. Sir Constantine says 2 minutes. So he'll be in there soon enough. We were originally going to talk about Guénon and the reign of quantity, but Sir Constantine apologized profusely, said that he had not finished the book yet. So instead, he wanted to talk about something else. I thought about what we would call this spaces, because we were going to be talking about lots of like bird's eye view stuff, whether it's like financial, demographic, etc., etc. So I just decided to call it Western Civilization Zugzwang, right? Because like, you're at the end game for the chess game, and no matter what move the Westerners do, whether it's like whatchamacallit, it's like, pursue this policy or that policy, it all kinds of ends the same way, right? So, no, what do you think about that, Sir Kenaz, with regard to
I think, like I noted in yesterday's conversation with John Michael Greer, the thing that jumped out at me was when Sir Constantine said that a significant percentage of trains in Germany today are either running late or not running at all. I mean, Germany has always been famous for like clockwork precision.
Yeah.
That's like, basically Americans suddenly losing interest in fast food.
Or like Americans suddenly not caring about, the bad bitches or the hot chicks or whatever. That's literally what this is.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like when that starts happening, it's like there's something really wrong going on.
Oh, yeah.
It's like things are not well. I mean, as I think JMG pointed out, okay, yes, France's government is falling apart. France's government falls apart regularly. Germany, doesn't. I think that's okay. What are the big four again that are like the economies that are very much at risk of default? I seem to remember it's France, the UK, Italy, and Germany, and possibly
the big four
Spain.
Possibly Spain. I mean, the big European four are UK, France, Germany, and Italy. Together, they make up, I would say, 45% or so of the European peninsula's population, right? The remaining 55% is from all these other guys, right? We're not counting Russia, we're not counting these other guys, but it's kind of relevant that, hey, these guys are the ones that are at risk, right? And I think I already showed you the credit rating agencies, but they've downgraded the French debt by 3 levels since October of last year. So it's happening, I mean, at this point, people who are in denial that, hey, these guys can actually default on their debt, man, I'm sorry, but you're just in denial at this point, right? The crisis is here. Sure, it might take 1 decade or 2 decades even maximum to unfold, but the crisis has arrived, basically. So.
I do not see things are going to get worse before they get better. Things are going to get a lot worse before they get better. I mean, I do think we could be looking at the point where a lot of debt on all sides is going to wind up forgiven or forgotten simply because, it's run past a point where it's payable.
Well, if you forgive the debt, let's understand what that means. It means you're telling them these obligations of payment that you had, you're not expected to pay, right? At which point, okay, fine, that's great for those in debt, but the creditors are fucked, right? So forgiving the debt doesn't change the calculation, Sir Kenaz. Either, Group A gets fucked or Group B gets fucked. Who's gonna get fucked, right? Okay.
Well, I mean, I think everybody gets fucked to a greater or lesser extent, but I mean, it's like when there's like a saying in the United States was when you owe the bank $1,000, you have a problem. When you owe $1 million, the bank
The
$1
bank
million,
has a
the
problem.
bank has a problem. I mean, it's kind of like, okay, we've got credit extensions out there that
Yeah.
we've got credit expended that we can't pay, we couldn't pay.
No.
We never will be able to pay. At some point, somebody is going to get left holding that hot potato.
Yep. Yep. Oh, Sir Constantine is here. Go ahead, Sir Constantine. You are speaker now. You should be able to speak.
Yeah, can you hear me?
We
Yes,
can hear
sir.
you
Loud and clear.
beautifully.
All right. Actually, I just missed what. Could you just summarize what you just said? I just jumped in.
Go ahead, Sir.
We were actually talking about, it started out noting the trains no longer running on time in Germany. And what we were talking about when you came in was we have a problem that a lot of the debt that's outstanding can't be paid back. Nobody's going to pay back the $38 trillion the U.S. owes. I don't know how indebted the European countries are, but I mean, at some point, somebody's going to get stuck with a lot of bad paper. The question is who and when.
Right. Well, that's true. Right. Yeah, it's a good question, I suppose. But I guess it's all going down. Just in Germany today, I think, Ahnaf, you just sent it to me earlier that they shut down another nuclear power plant completely, basically.
Yeah.
So
basically, yeah.
Yeah, and then basically they're trading and you also send something else that the German government is basically trading secrets with the Chinese in exchange for raw materials.
Yeah,
Okay.
Exactly.
Right.
By the way, Sir Constantine, the reason they're doing that is because that's the ultimatum the Chinese gave. The Chinese basically said, look, man, your cars and your electronics, we know what you build them out of. If you want our resources, this is what you're going to sign on to, right? So it's basically a treaty of humiliation, if that makes sense. That's basically what that is.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree. And it's definitely humiliating. But then
Yeah.
But then I'm not even sure what the German government's doing anyway, because everything they're doing is like self-humiliating, to be honest.
Yeah.
So it just fits the pattern, I guess.
Yeah, it fits the pattern. I mean, like, the German foreign minister wants to do a meeting, and I think Sir Kenaz, we talked about it yesterday, but like the Chinese are like, okay, we'll give you a 30-minute meeting with our foreign minister, right? And he's like, okay, but that means that I'm not meeting anyone else. And they're like, yeah, because nobody wants to meet you, bro. So, that's your problem to figure out. So he decided not to even show up. I mean, this reminds me of like.
Well, it's like when the German Chancellor Friedrich Merz was sat in the last row, basically, like he was seated there next to some potted plant.
Oh dear, yeah. Exactly. No, I think Grandmaster of Doom, John Michael Greer, he was basically saying, if you go back in time 500 years, and you're like a small king or kinglet from like Malaysia, and you show up to the imperial Chinese court, and you're like, I want to speak to the emperor, and the chief eunuch would be like, nah, bro, you can only talk with me. I'll give you a few minutes, and oh, by the way, after this meeting is over, you're gonna go back to your home country, and then next year you're gonna show up with some ginseng, giraffes, and some other stuff, right? Like for trading with us, right? Because you're a tributary, you don't really matter, and yeah, you're not gonna talk to the emperor, and like. Germany, France, all these guys, Sir Constantine, they're like the Chinese are beginning to behave like they have done for thousands of years, like civilizationally, which is like, no, man, we've got our chief eunuch, which was like the foreign minister. You can talk to him for about 30 minutes, but that's it. We're not going to let anyone else talk to you because you don't really matter. So it's just like that's what we're seeing right now. So,
I think Europe is having a really hard time understanding that they've largely become irrelevant. I mean, it's at the stage. Well, okay, what does Europe do if America were tomorrow shaking hands? Like, again, this is theoretical, not actually something that would happen. Trump and Putin shake hands and Trump says, look, I'm leaving Europe. you have to handle your own defense from here on out. Best of luck to you. It's been real. It's been nice, but it hasn't been real nice. So long, guys. What would Europe do?
Well, I guess Europe is quite desperate because they still want to be relevant, or at least pretend to be relevant. But I guess the ship has already sailed, as we can see, because Europe has nothing to offer anymore at the moment. I mean, what do they have to offer that the other civilization states want, like the United States or China? Really, they don't project any power. They don't have any military, so anybody can just walk right over them, basically, if they choose to. Their economy is basically going down, is being wrecked, and it's all self-inflicted, right? I mean, people on the right, and you see this on X a lot, always talk about the genocide, some engineered genocide of, like, I don't know, the white race, I guess, in Europe. But it's not really genocide, right? If it's self-inflicted. I mean, wouldn't suicide be the more apt term right here?
That was exactly what I was going to say. This isn't genocide, it's suicide. You quit having babies, therefore you don't get a next generation. That's, Well, I trust that everybody here knows where babies come from.
Well, they always want to blame, like, an outside party. They can never acknowledge the fact that white people have agency, basically. They deprive white people of agency by always saying it is some outside group, basically, that is basically forcing whites to act the way they act. But I totally disagree, right? Like, nobody's forcing Europeans not to have children. Nobody's forcing them to refuse cheap oil and gas, and nobody's forcing them to shut down their own nuclear power plants in Germany and thereby ruining their economy.
But you know what they say in response, Sir Constantine. Before we go there, good Sir Mint, we're probably gonna talk for a bit with Sir Constantine, and after that, when we get to question and answers, you can ask your questions. With that out of the way, the quick housekeeping note. But the thing is, Sir Constantine, you gotta understand, they always have, like, something to respond with. The way they respond is, well, but the whites have been brainwashed, like, if only they had the right values and the right education and whatever, right? Like, then they would behave differently. And I completely disagree. Like, I'm like you, Sir Constantine. I'm like, no, like, you can't choose both of these things. Either you're like a victim and you're like a mass or whatever the fuck, and you're just someone else's cattle, right? That's option one. Or option two, you're like some aristocrat or like some prince or whatever, and the throne was taken away from you unjustly, but because you're an aristocrat or a prince, it doesn't matter, man. You're gonna raise up your army and fight back and take it back, right? So you can't be one of those things and be the other thing at the same time. You're either one or the other, right? And so the white people still don't realize what they are. Like, they want to be both those things. They want to be like, look, we're a bunch of aristocrats, we're a bunch of kings and whatever the fuck, right? Our countries have been stolen from us. We are the true owners of the land, and we got to take it back, bro, right? And we are going to take it back. And then simultaneously, they also want to be the victims. And I'm like, okay, but it doesn't work that way, man. Like, either you're the prince, in which case you got to take full moral responsibility for your actions, or you're like the victim, and you're just like an object. You're not a subject of, like, moral agency and affairs and all these other things, right? But they have a hard time, Sir Constantine. They don't want to choose, right? They're not like, no, I want both my cake. I want to have my cake and eat it too, basically.
Well, right, and they talk about, like, having the land stolen. They talk about invaders, right? We have to kick out the invaders, but they're not actually invaders, because an invader comes uninvited onto your territory and literally takes your land by force against your will. But it's the complete opposite is what's taking place in Europe, because these people are actually invited. So they're actually guests that were invited by the European governments with the acquiescence of the European population, at least the majority of the European population. I mean, they're perfectly fine with it. So they're guests, and then they become residents, and then they never leave, basically, because a lot of them get citizenship. So they're not really invaders. Like, you can't invite somebody into your house and tell that person, well, help yourself, here's the fridge, and then complain afterwards. It doesn't work like this. And it's a minority like in Europe and countries like Germany that are actually complaining about it, that are actually against the current state of affairs, because the majority is still in favor of it, and each election shows it, basically, the results at least.
Yeah, like I use the word replacement, right? I use the word replacement and great replacement, right? I don't use the word invader and invasion, because I agree 100% with what you just said. In order for it to be an invasion, there needs to be armies, there needs to be like coercion, there needs to be none of that is true. There wasn't a giant Muslim army, there wasn't like coercion. Most of these guys, they wanted the cheap slave labor force. They wanted these people to show up. They wanted all of this other stuff, right? And now they're like making these arguments of like, okay, well, they take welfare money. I'm like, okay, but so citizens also take welfare money. What? Okay, so you want people to show up to your country. Again, you're inviting them to do slave labor work. And so why are you expecting them to not take welfare? That's a very unfair standard, right? And so it's like, okay, so what's your options, right? And they're like, oh, but enough, I want to use the Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar option. I want them to just be temporary guest workers, and I just want them to work 20, 30 years over here. And I'm like, okay, but bro, that's not your country's policy, right? Like, your country's policy, and we can go back to 1940, 1950, 1960, your country's policy is you can show up here, work a few years, if you have the language learned to like B2 level or B1 level, you can go for citizenship, right? That's your policy. Now, if you want to change the policy, right, what is the method you're going to use to change the policy? Are you going to use a democratic method? Because if, like, as Sir Constantine said, you're not in the majority. Or are you going to use some autocratic method? If you use the autocratic method, fine, man, go for it. It's your country, right? But if you use the autocratic method, I'm going to warn you right now, the people who are going to leave your country are not going to be the black and brown poor people. It's going to be the white-collar white people. It's going to be like the people who are like the business people, and these guys, they're going to leave. And suddenly you're going to be dead-ass broke, right? So again, it's your choice. If you want to, quote-unquote, save your country, understand that sometimes the medicine that you apply is going to be worse than the cure. It's like, that's your situation. So, Zugzwang is the appropriate word here. What happened to Sir Constantine? Let me make him speaker again. Invite to speak. Or send me a request, Sir Constantine. But no, Sir Kenaz, what do you think about my assessment of matters?
Well, I mean, I think it's accurate and it's self-evident. I mean, you can't, if you want to remigrate a population, you have to figure out how you're going to do it. And like, well, we're going to issue strongly worded declarations. That's great. What are you going to do if they don't listen? Well, we'll force them. Okay. How many troops do you have to get them on those ships?
Oh, Sir Kenaz, we don't need the troops. We just have to take a pistol, fire the round in the air, and they'll start running for the boat. Some of them actually believe this, by the way. They think that if you just harass them, and if you scare them, they're going to start running for the boat. They actually believe this shit, by the way.
Well, I think what I expect to see happening would be more along the lines of, as the European economy continues to swirl around the bowl, you're going to see people migrating because it's like, okay, well, all right, things are a little better. There was considerably more opportunity for advancement here when I got here than there is back in my home country.
Yeah.
Now things are as bad or worse. What am I doing here? I can go back and be with my family.
Mm-hmm. Bingo.
I mean, I expect you're going to see a fair amount of remigration simply because Europe is going to become a much less appealing place.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody ever came to Europe because of the beautiful weather.
No. Like, if you look at global numbers, right? For every dollar of welfare money spent, 50 cents of that dollar is spent in Europe, right? And so it's very attractive, right? And so now, but enough, I want them to not, I want them to not take the welfare money, and I want them to just work here. That's an unrealistic standard. Because at that point, you're like talking about two-tier citizenship and that kind of stuff, right? So, okay, so like you're saying, what happens when these countries go bankrupt and they go broke? All these people are going to reevaluate their situation, and many of them are going to leave. And the point I make to people is, you're going to be surprised by who actually leaves. It's not just going to be the black and brown people. It's also going to be a lot of white people, right? They're going to look at that situation and go, I live in France. France is dead broke, right? France is dead broke, right? I literally can't pay my bills, and there's literally no services and goods showing up, right? Which, by the way, like, people made fun of me when I said that, like, a few years ago. But now we're at a point where, like, Volkswagen and these German companies and a couple of these French companies are just shutting down plants because they literally don't have the rare earths from China and all these other things to build anything anymore, right? So, you know, that situation is coming. But after that, what happens? Like, okay, so I'm like a wealthy, upper middle class German guy with like wife and 5 kids. Like, I'm one of the, like, you know, the small business. Like, you're just gonna fucking leave, man. Like, what the fuck is the point in staying in Germany if the country has gone broke, it's bankrupt? And, you know, sure, you can go on a few podcasts and say, I care about the white race or whatever, but, you know, when your pocketbook's tight, man, you are gonna leave, right? It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that, right? So, Sir Constantine, you're back. Are you able to speak, or is your audio good again?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Wonderful. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
some glitch
great.
for someone. Right. Yeah,
No
thank
worries.
you. Yeah, well, no, I completely agree with you. I think it's irreversible because the people keep saying, well, certain people keep saying that we have to act right now because soon it will be too late, right? But I think it's too late already. This is what they don't realize. I mean, and I always ask them, have you walked around any major European city lately? Like, and look at and observe the demographic situation there? Like, I don't know,
Yeah.
Frankfurt, Berlin, Paris. I mean, how is it too late? I think it's already too late. I don't think the situation can be reversed because, I mean, the numbers are drastic. I mean, in Germany, I think the women of childbearing age under the age of 40, I think they have like 1.3 children on average, right? Or like 1.1. I mean, it's basically like just half of replacement level. So within one generation alone, you will have half the number, basically, right? They will have half the daughters that you have right now within like 25 years, basically. And at the same time, they keep saying they're going to do something about immigration. I mean, you have the Christian Democratic Union, Friedrich Merz. I mean, he ran on a platform of basically doing something about this uncontrolled immigration that you have in Germany. And now he's been chancellor for quite a while, and he's done virtually nothing, right? Absolutely nothing. And they continue to fly in these Afghans with airplanes from Afghanistan. They say they're the helpers, right? The Afghans that they're flying into Germany are basically the Afghans that supposedly supported the German military when it was together with the Americans in Afghanistan, which might be true to some extent, but I'm not sure if it's true for all of them. And I don't even know like why they have to come to Germany and not stay in Afghanistan. I guess supposedly the argument is that the Taliban would harass them, basically. Sided with the enemy, I guess, right? But it's not. I mean, it's not just Afghans, right? I mean, it's Syrians, it's Africans, and I mean, where I live right now, there's a refugee center not far, like a couple of blocks away, and it was actually only opened in 2022, and it's sort of like in the forest. Sort of secluded from the town. And so the town where I live is majority white, German, like I would say over 90% white. All liberals, of course, mostly liberals. I think the AfD got less than 5% in the last election.
Oh,
right?
wow. Okay.
And and they have, I mean, like if I walk down the street here from my house, like a couple of houses down, like the guy has like a fuck AfD sticker on his car. And I mean, it's par for the course, of course, naturally. Anyway, so they opened this refugee center in the forest. The first, it was just for Ukrainian refugees. So it was after the Ukraine conflict started. And it was actually true, right? So for like 5-6 months, so I only saw like Ukrainian women and Ukrainian children, basically, mostly, since the Ukrainian men are not allowed to leave the country. And all of them like walked past my house on the way to the bus stop, right? So I constantly saw like a stream of like Ukrainian women. And then it changed, right? So after like 5, 6, 7 months, maybe I saw fewer and fewer Ukrainian women, and then more young men of probably Arab origin or African origin, and fewer and no Arab or very few, I would say, Arab African women, mostly young men, in groups, like with mobile phones and etc. Also walking up and down to the bus station. I guess since they're not allowed to work because they have refugee status, which is another thing, right? So they have refugee status, so they're not allowed to work. And even when they're allowed to work, a lot of them don't work because the money that they get from the German government for free is almost the same as what they would earn if they get like minimum wage, basically. So there's really no incentive. Like, why should they work 8 hours a day? So I don't know, 5 days. If they get like, I don't know, 100 or 200 euros more than what they get for free anyway. So there's literally no incentive. I mean, I completely understand them. I wouldn't work either. It's crazy. And anyway, so that was like 2023 when the situation changed, and now like 2000, that's 2 years ago, and now it's like, I would say mostly like Middle Eastern and African men, basically, with very few like Ukrainians in between. And I don't see them stopping the influx of these people.
No.
I mean, from a capitalist perspective, it makes sense, right? Because these German corporations, for example, I mean, they totally benefit from these refugees because they can suppress the wages, of course, but they don't have to pay for the ones that are unemployed, for the ones that are not working. The taxpayers pay for that, right? So the companies only benefit. They benefit from a cheap workforce, but they don't have to support the idle ones, so to speak. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So from a capitalist perspective, it makes perfect sense. Western Europe Europe in general is a capitalist society through and through. And Alain de Benoit, the French New Right theorist, I mean, he was right when he said, like, if you don't want to talk about capitalism, then you need to shut up about immigration, basically, because of course it's all connected.
Oh yeah.
Right. I mean, just yesterday I shared this news piece with you, German Gref, the head of Sberbank, the basically the largest bank in Russia, when he basically said that Russia desperately needs immigrants, qualified immigrants, like millions, basically, because they have the same problem in Russia, because they have very low birth rate, way below replacement level. And I suppose they lost a lot of men also in the war, and or at least they're serving, right? So I mean, it's a big demographic problem. They've been saying the same about Ukraine, right? Like, what's going to happen after the war? I mean, they're going to have hardly any men left, so they'll have no choice but to import men, basically, and they will, obviously. Yeah, and it's. Somebody just talked about Denmark, right? When I was posting something, like he said, but in Denmark, they're actually doing something, like this right-wing government in Denmark is actually like, clamping down on illegal immigrants, etc. And then some Danish guy like joined the conversation and said, well, it's total bullshit. The Danish government is not really doing anything, right? But because it's like Meloni, the Italian leader, right? Because she gave all these speeches before she got elected. How is she going to crack down and what she was going to do? And she's been in power for quite a while, and she's done absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely correct, Sir Constantine. And like the thing is, it's like the 5 stages of grief, right? Like, well enough, look, Russia's going to do something, or this guy's going to do something. But I always tell them the same thing. I'm like, empires are not permanent. Societies are not permanent. Nation states are not permanent, right? Like 10, 20 years ago, if you wanted to immigrate to Japan, it was basically impossible, right? It was like, you need to learn Japanese to like B2 or C1 level, so you got to be near native speaker. You need like this many qualifications. You need this much education, blah, 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 right? And now in the year 2025, their political leadership is like, we're going to take in 500,000 Indian guest workers over the next 5 years. Not only that, we're going to make 4 mini cities for like Africans from like Nigeria and all these other places. And I just laughed when I saw it. And I'm like, look, man, you guys all made fun of me when I said 10 years ago that this was going to happen. And, based Japan, samurai spirit or whatever the fuck, like they're never going to take in migration. You guys were all wrong. And I was right, right? Because ultimately it comes down to what is your bargaining position, right? Like if your bargaining position is, okay, the society still kind of works. I know, people are still kind of getting paid. The retirement system is kind of still working. Infrastructure is still kind of functional. You can kind of make these bold claims like, okay, well, we're only going to take in people who are qualified and, I don't know, have master's degrees and PhD degrees. Okay, man, like, come back to me 20 years later. Come back to me 20 years later when the demographic situation is even worse. And then we'll see what your bargaining position is. At that point, man, you're not even going to look for high school graduates. You'll take any random 15-year-old at that point, right? And I expect this to only increase in the coming years, right? Like whether it's South Korea who does it or Japan or all these other like quote unquote based countries, which people talk to me about all the time, or like even like, I don't even think like, what's his name? Like Hungary and these Central European guys. I think even these guys will eventually fold, right? Eventually they will.
Yeah,
also
but
yeah.
Well, some argue they have already folded because Viktor Orban again, like he says a lot. But I've talked to a lot of Hungarians that actually live in Hungary, and they told me again it's all bullshit basically. Like he says a lot, but when you walk around Budapest and even other like smaller Hungarian cities and towns, they're also immigrants all over the place. Because and it's the same with Poland, right? With the Law and Justice Party, when they had the whole visa scandal, just handing out visas basically. And I mean, they're also importing immigrants from, I would say, non-white countries. I mean, I've been to Poland several times over the last year, and just from like personal observation, I can tell you that yes, there are quite a few immigrants, and the immigrant population is also growing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, because this is all these people do. It's always talk, but never any walk. And even with Trump, it's the same, right? Like mass deportations during the campaign rallies. But where are they now? I don't see any mass deportations. I mean, I see
a
some
lot of Indians.
random deportations. Yeah, well, that's true, right? Exactly, right? I see some random deportations, like just made for TV, right? For the TV audience, where they like raid some kitchen in Los Angeles and drag out some Mexican cooks or something. But this is not a mass deportation. Would actually mean like rounding up hundreds and thousands of people in like 2-3 days and putting them on cattle cars or whatever, or big trucks, which is never going to happen. Obviously, and it shouldn't happen, even from a moral perspective. It's deplorable, right? And they know it, and this is why it cannot happen. And even logistically, as you well know, it's not even possible. I mean, what are the numbers now? Trump's been president for like 10 months. So the numbers, I mean, the last numbers I've heard are like 600,000 deported, around 600,000.
I looked at the official website for ice.gov, and I think their official number is more like 300,000. But even if we use the 600,000,
okay, right, worth even less.
Yeah.
All right. Wow. Okay.
So even if we use your number.
I mean, okay. 300,000 is pretty pathetic, and 600,000 is also pathetic, though, because I mean, 10 months is almost the whole year. I mean, it's almost November, right? So like, let's say they get it up to like 700 or 800,000. I mean, 800,000 in 1 year, which means if he keeps it up, he'll probably end up deporting like about 3 million, maybe, right? And supposedly that he promised to deport about 20 million, and he's supposed to be, or even more. And of course he's not going to do it. And then how many of them are actually going to walk right back, right? So they're deported. Yeah. What prevents them from just walking right back like 2 days later? Because it's not like there's a secure border between the United States and Mexico, because there isn't. So, I mean, how many of them are already back in the country? We don't know. Yeah. And then, of course, they have I always hear the argument, but they say, well, Constantin, you don't understand, because many of them self-deport. There's millions of them that have self-deported. I was like, I don't know, like, do we have any reliable statistics how many people actually self-deported? Or is it just like fantasy numbers that people just throw out there? Because that's what it seems like to me.
Okay, as I understand the American situation, as always, take anything I say with grains of salt. There are a fair number of people who are choosing to leave rather than get thrown out. There are also has been a slowdown in people crossing the border versus what there was a couple of years ago. The problem is there's, even with that, we have an immigrant population in place in the United States that we are not going to mass deport. What we're doing is slowing the bleeding. We're not stopping it.
America has 347 million people. That's the official census number. The immigration number in a typical year, I'm not talking about an abnormal year, in a typical year, the net migration rate is 3 people per 1,000, right? And then when people hear that, they go, oh, but that doesn't sound so big. Well, 347 million divided by 1,000 times 3. What do you get? You get over
About
a million immigrants, okay? So just to break even, I'm just gonna say it straight. Just to break even, you need to deport 1.2 million people a year, right? And you're deporting, I'm gonna take Sir Constantine's number, 600,000. Sure, you deported half of them, and the other half got in, right? And oh, by the way, your immigrant population is like 50, 55 million, probably higher than that, right? So it's all like red meat. It's all red meat for the masses. It's like, okay, look at how tough we are. Here's like a Mexican grandma. We're going to be cruel to her, and, we're going to, grab her with a bunch of these like ICE agents. That's what it is. That's
Right.
literally what this is. Yeah.
No,
Like,
but I completely agree with you.
Yeah. Well, like if you go to Bangladesh, like if you go to Bangladesh, I've seen this. I grew up in Bangladesh 10, 15 years. Politicians do this all the time, right? Like they present themselves as very strong. They're like, look at how powerful we are. Here's a bunch of these like policemen. They're going to show up to a criminal's house and just kill everyone, like him, his parents, his family. And Trump's just doing the same thing, man. Like it's like he knows that he cannot do the mass deportations, right? Either he knows or one of his buddies knows, right? Because it is logistically impossible. Morally, it's impossible, right? All this other stuff. And it's like, but that's all they got left, Sir Constantine. All they got left is Trump is our savior. He's the hero. We waited so long for a hero, and therefore he's our hero. Therefore he'll succeed. That's all they got left.
Well, the point is also that there's really no continuity, because even let's just say, hypothetically speaking, Trump manages to deport 20 million people, right? Purely hypothetical. Then in 4 years, we get another Democrat president. He will just open the borders again, and they will all come right back in, basically. And even the ones that self-deported, half of them or even more, will come back.
Yeah.
Because the threat will be gone for at least another 4 years. Yeah. And then another person like Trump might come back in after these 4 years, but he will be exactly at square one again, right? So it's sort of like some bipolar condition, like a clinical condition, basically, where it just goes back and forth because there's no continuity. And I think this is the main problem, right? Because everything that Trump is doing, or most of what he's doing, is actually doing with executive orders. And the next president can just nullify all of them, basically. And a whole new climate might reign again, so to speak. The whole atmosphere might change.
Yeah. That's basically it. I mean, Sir Kenaz, you talked often about like whatchamacallit, all these like ethno-state bros, and it's the same argument. Like sometimes they're like, well, look, black people shouldn't exist in America. And like I think you brought it up on one of our shows, which is like, okay, well, there's this many million black people, there's this many million policemen, and this many million troops. Do the math, bros. It's not happening, right? It's basically,
I mean, that's exactly it. That's like, you're expecting somebody else to do the job for you because you don't intend to do it yourself, and B, you don't really understand that your ideas are generally pretty unpopular with the public. I mean, I know certainly in the United States, most Americans are generally supportive of like, okay, this guy committed a serious crime. Yes, he should be deported. Most Americans don't like the policy in some, quote, sanctuary cities of like, well, we're not going to report this child rapist because he might get deported. That doesn't sit well with a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know what else doesn't sit well with a lot of people is, some family man that's been working in the United States for decades, has never had a criminal problem. His kids go to school with my kids, etc. Yanking that guy out of his house in the middle of the night and throwing him back to a country he hasn't been in for decades, when he is, by all appearances and accounts, a productive member of our society, that doesn't really sit well with people. And the louder you quote about, we got that beaner out of here, the more people you're alienating.
Yeah. And it's like, you can check the survey numbers, but like, I think 75-80% of Americans surveyed by Gallup, Pew, and these other guys, they just said that, yes, we believe in legal migration, we believe in border controls, but we also believe in like pathway to citizenship, right? So like, it doesn't matter if it's Trump or JD Vance or whoever the fuck. If you run on this issue, you will lose, right? Because if your idea is, well, like you're saying, Sir Kenaz, I'm just going to yank him out of the house, videotape it, it's going to be red meat for my base. Oh, look at all the cruelty we're inflicting. You're going to fucking lose, man. Like, most people view that as a grotesque thing, right? And they don't view the world the way you do, which is like, oh, the law has to be exercised no matter the ethical or the moral dimension, right? Like, I mean, first of all, you don't do it yourself. You're not a guy with the guns running, rounding up people and deporting them. You want other people to do it for you. That's number one. But number two, like, even if you got someone else to do it for you, it would be like reprehensible from the ethical side of things. And you can kind of pretend to be like this, I'm the Ubermensch, ethics doesn't apply to me. Like, all right, man, you want to behave that way? Go on right ahead, right? You're just going to turn yourself into a pariah. Just letting you know right now.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, well, another thing.
Go ahead, Sir.
Yeah, sorry. Well, another thing that tells me that the Trump administration is not really serious about mass deportations is that the businesses that hire the illegals, they never really get punished, at least not appropriately, because this is what should be done if the government were serious about illegal immigration or tackling illegal immigration, like have draconian.
That's exactly what needs to be done, and you're absolutely
but it's not
right.
Well, it's not being done because it's bad for the economy, of course, because nobody's serious about it. It's like Meloni and all these people in Europe. I mean, they say it, but they don't really mean it. And it's the same in Germany with the AfD, for example. Like, everybody's like now pinning their hopes on the AfD. If the AfD comes to power, which is likely, I mean, it could happen, right? Mm-hmm. Because they are like at 30% now in the polls. I mean, so it's realistic that they could come to power. Mm-hmm. I don't think anything will change at all. Like, okay, maybe some cosmetic things. I mean, the general atmosphere might change, which is already a good thing. The same in the US with Trump, in my opinion. I think I give him credit for this, for the vibe shift, basically, which I think is unbelievably positive. Like, the relentless attack on wokeism is also great. Mm-hmm. So this is what I like about Trump. By tackling immigration, it's like a joke, right? It's the same with AfD, right? Because it would be like Meloni. They'd come to power, they'd do some, I don't know, like create some media attention by deporting some people, filming it, like you said, basically, and they were doing something, but then 5 years later, you could walk around Germany and it would look exactly the same, right? Demographically speaking. Yeah, so nothing's going to change because nobody's actually serious about it, at least in the West. Because somebody mentioned the other day that Iran, for example, managed to kick out like 1.5 Afghans in a couple of months or half a year or whatever.
Do you know how
but
they
it's
did
completely
it,
different. Because,
but do you know how they did it?
No, how did they do it? Tell us.
They called the Afghan government ahead of time, and they told them, we have a national security issue. We are in a war with Israel. I'm sorry, but your guys are getting paid by the Israelis to carry out terrorism on our soil. So we got to deport them. A portion of them can come back in the next few years, but we're going to do a humane transport and what have you, and they're going to go back to Afghanistan, at least for some of them, it's going to be forever. And for the other portion, they're going to come back, right? So very reasonable immigration policy. They didn't go around being like, okay, man, the dirty Afghans are polluting Iranian soil. Let's kick them out and be cruel to them. That's not what they did, right? They literally talked like several weeks and months in advance. They planned the whole thing out. The Afghans themselves also collaborated to take their people back. So this is my point. My point is deportations, whether it's like the mass deportation or whatever you want to call it, if the other guy is not going to cooperate with you, you don't really have much of an option, right? Because at that point, it's like, okay, well, are you going to dump their people back into their soil and start some kind of like hostile military adventure, right? Because like that's what like a lot of these like terminally online people, they don't understand. It's like the example I love to use, which is like Italy and Nigeria. All right, Italy's like, okay, Nigeria, you got to take all your people back. Nigeria's like, no, thank you, right? So what is Italy going to do? Is Italy going to invade Nigeria, have a beachhead on Nigerian soil, and then the ships filled with a few thousand Nigerians from Italy, who, by the way, right, throughout that entire trip, magically did not fight back or what have you against their captors, and dump them? Like, moving people around like cattle, right? It's not a realistic thing. Like, even if you dislike people, even if you're like, well, I hate Nigerians and Bangladeshis, I don't care, man. Like, but you gotta be realistic, right? Like, human beings are not, content with being pushed around, right? Especially if you tell them that I'm just gonna put you on this plane or ship or whatever and just dump you here, right? They are gonna fight back against you, right? So, I mean, that's what it is. The Iranians are actually intelligent. That's what most people forget, but I don't see much intelligence from these populist parties when they talk about like mass deportation.
Well, I think it's also important to note that Iran actually shares a border with Afghanistan.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Germany does not share a border with Afghanistan or Syria or Africa, where most of these refugees or immigrants are from.
Yeah. And because they don't, you have to, again, it has to be a big ship or multiple big ships, and it has to be multiple jets, right? So, I mean, good luck selling that to the German public or the French public that, we're literally going to be doing this, like, ethnic cleansing type. Okay, well, we are going to do this. We're not going to call it ethnic cleansing. We're going to call it humane deportations. Meanwhile, some random liberal journalist is going to, grab a bunch of photos and spread it everywhere. Yeah, good luck with that. Good luck with that, especially dealing with the fallout of that, right? It's basically a big national scandal waiting to happen, which is why, well, one of my theories for why it has not happened, even from like the crazier politicians, is that they understand that the moment they do that, they're putting themselves in that like electric chair of like, okay, not only are we going to be criticized by the rest of the world, but we're literally going to become a pariah, right? Like, okay, well, there's 10,000 Nigerians on this boat. Here are their living conditions for the next several weeks, and we're going to treat them like cattle, and that's how we're going to do the mass deportations, right? And that's what you guys did, and we're going to put out the photos and the videos of that, right? I mean, good luck with that, folks. I really think like the moment you do that, like you don't really have much to do after that, right?
Well, people also forget that a lot of them have already acquired citizenship.
Yeah.
When Angela Merkel opened the borders in 2015, like millions and millions of Syrians and Afghans came. And I just read the other day, like 2 million Syrians already acquired German citizenship since then. I mean, that's a huge number, 2 million.
Exactly.
And more, and they just like they made it even easier now to get citizenship. Like,
yeah.
I mean, it's not even that hard anymore. The requirements, I mean, so more and more of them will acquire citizenship. And well, if or when some kind of right-wing party comes into power, like the AfD, they will not be able to touch the citizens anyway. You cannot deport citizens, obviously, right?
Yeah.
And so even if they manage to deport, say, the illegal immigrants, which is very questionable, you still have millions and millions of citizens of non-European origin, and they will not go anywhere ever, right?
No.
And the demographic change is guaranteed with that alone, in my opinion. And it's not a value judgment. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm just saying this is how it is, right? I mean, it's just a realistic way of looking at things. It's basically we're looking at a new ethnogenesis happening in the West now, in Western Europe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's what people need to understand. Just a short point, Sir Kenaz. And that's what people need to understand. We're not making a value judgment. We're saying that logistically and practically it's impossible. It's probably not going to happen, like Sir Constantine said. Even if you get a bankruptcy of all of these European countries, which I expect in the near future, that doesn't mean that you magically become more white. What it means is the upper middle class and the wealthy people leave, and all the poor black and brown people, and the white people, by the way, are left. So, like, when I talk to people, they're like, well, Ahnaf, you say it's logistically impossible, this is impossible. Okay, well, what about bankruptcy? Can't we just intentionally go bankrupt and then, the tide will be turned? And I'm like, okay, but that's just fucking wrong. Like, even if you go bankrupt, yeah, some people will leave, but like most of them are living in like slums and places. Like, like Sir Constantine, he does a lot of walking. He knows exactly what I'm talking about, right? Like, the ghetto areas, the slums and these things. Like, okay, do they have enough money to leave? No, they don't. So it's like, a lot of like unrealistic things that people believe in, right?
Well, they're not gonna leave because it's not even that they don't have enough money to leave. Even if they had enough money to leave, I mean, where they are from, it's probably still worse in a lot of cases, even than in the bankrupt Europe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Brother Naji requests to speak. Brother Naji, just hang tight. We're almost done with the dialogue with Sir Constantine, and we'll have some Q&A towards the end, and you can hop in with the questions. But like warfare and these types of things, right? I mean, I like to entertain like plausible situations. It is plausible that a place like, I don't know, Eritrea or Ethiopia or whatever, the civil strife and conflict there dies down, and then a bunch of Eritreans who live in Germany, they just look at it and go, okay, well, Germany has gone bankrupt, they've defaulted on their debt, and Eritrea is now safer. It's actually a good idea for me to go back to Eritrea, right? I'm saying that even in that situation, a lot of Eritreans will look at that and go, okay, but I'm fucking poor. Like, I literally live in the slums and I have, like, I don't know, a food truck. And that's all I got, man. So even in that situation, it's not going to happen, right? But what is going to happen is the people with the money, like, again, the big capitalist people, the big people with the hedge funds and stuff, they're going to be like, oh, fuck, Germany's bankrupt. Let me get out of here. So, like, even in the worst case scenario, their dreams of, like, the pure white ethno state or whatever, well, like you were saying, Sir Constantine, that ship has sailed away, right? It's not coming back. It's not coming back.
I mean, I think that's a problem. I know this is certainly a problem with Americans, with American environmentalists, just Americans in general, is they get the idea that you can keep a culture in stasis.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like the people who live in Germany today, like, they don't start thinking of themselves as Germans until, comparatively late. They were thinking of themselves, as Prussians, as different groups.
Yeah, Bavarians. Bavarians.
Before that,
and
they
Hessians.
were, Alemanni. Then they were, there's a whole lot of, identities don't stay the same. I mean, I expect that Germany will have a significant cultural and genetic admixture from the people who are today called Germans.
Yeah.
I expect, in the United States, I would expect 500 years from now, if I were to hop into like my time machine with Mr. Peabody and Sherman, go 500 years into the future, I'm guessing I would see people that I would look at and go, okay, that's a white person.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm expecting that, but I'm also expecting you will see, and you're going to see more of a mixed group. You're going to see people from multiracial, multi-ethnic people. You put people in close proximity to each other. They share music. They share, dance, like they share music, and they share food, and they share genetics.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. No, and you said it. you said it a couple of months ago when we had a chat. You said that basically, like, our children, they have no concept of this idea of wanting to keep a race pure or something. They think you're crazy if you say something like this, because they were born into this multiracial, multicultural society. For them, it's completely normal. They've never experienced anything else, unlike you and I, right? Because we can think back of the way things were before, yes? But now there is no more before, because they were born into the internet age, into the multiracial society. So they don't know any other society, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, even like when you look at history, the Austro-Hungarian Empire was a multi-religious, multicultural, multi-ethnic grouping. The Ottoman Empire, like empires tend to be where we got a bunch of different groups of people. I mean, my grandmother was an ethnic Lithuanian from like a first generation American. She was a second generation American immigrant. She was born in America. My grandfather was like, I had always thought they were Russian. I found out they were Russian, or they also call them Ruthenians. They were Ukrainians from the far west. Their dialect is closer to Polish than it is to Russian. Those people, they got together, those America, for us especially, there's that whole idea of Zwingli's melting pot. I mean, we brought in people from all over America. They all started becoming white within a couple generations of getting here. People didn't think the Irish were white when they first showed up.
Yeah.
People did not think that they did not think the Italians were white. They sure did not think that, like, the Slavs, the Slavs, they're basically kind of slope-browed and not real smart, and, you got to watch out for them. Then
they
about
used
three
to
generations
say,
down the line.
Yeah, I mean, they used to say that people from Finland are like, people from Finland, they're not really white either. They're actually slow-brained, like Chinese people, right? So they used to say that, oh, you're like the Chinamen from the north. Yeah, like all these things are things that shift, right? You have these biases and these ethnic things, and then people are in a situation where they can't do it because, like, again, the other group has become bigger, more powerful, more influential, and like the group that was doing the racism crap, they've become weaker and older and frailer. And they're just like, okay, we got to change our views now because otherwise we're going to be swept away. So
I've seen American racists claim with a completely straight face that one of the reasons Russia is so strong and one of the reasons India is so strong is because they're monocultural countries and they don't have to deal with ethnic tensions.
Oh my God.
Wow, it's a complete opposite.
I'm like that, and China is is a one ethnicity state. It's like, well, no, that's not true. That's not true of any of them. In the case of India, you're off by about 1,999 separate ethnicities that live within there.
Yeah.
There's 96 recognized ethnicities in Russia. Look, it's the idea of an ethnic state starts, after the Peace of Westphalia.
Yeah.
Before that, it was considered, okay, there's an emperor. He rules over the nobles that rule over us.
And this is the baron or the count that owns my land, and I swear fealty to him. Right?
Yeah.
That's literally what people used to. They didn't look around the world and be like, okay, what are my genetics? And based on my genetics, I will now. That's not how people viewed the thing, man. Right? That's like a very recent thing. Like even the concept of like, what was it called? It's called the three great races, which I think is like the Caucasoid race, the Negroid race, and the Mongoloid race, right? Even that stuff is like, I'm gonna say mid to late 1800s. Very recent in human history, right? For most of human history, this was not even an issue, right?
I mean, yes, because Africa, they all think of themselves as black people. There's no ethnic tensions going on in Africa.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, this is like, even if you get into like a place like Iran, which is mostly Persian, Iran has a big population of Azeri Turks.
Yeah.
Islam, Iran has along the Afghan border a pretty significant population of people of Afghan origin who have been living, many of whom have been living there for generations. It's the idea that your country can only survive if it's, mono-ethnic.
Yeah.
It's just, that's not the way it's ever worked.
I mean, good luck explaining that to people.
Russia, the mono-ethnic culture of Russia.
Yeah.
Yes, that's why it was ruled by staunch 100% Russians like Lenin and Trotsky and.
No. 193 ethnic groups in Russia, Sir Kenaz, which are officially recognized. Right. So, I mean, I don't know what to tell people, but they're just fucking wrong. So.
Yeah, I think there's something like 56 in China, and I know India, they haven't even got a full count for it.
Over 2,000. That's what they say. Over 2,000. And official languages, there's 22 official languages, and there's dozens more that are not official, but they are, by county and by district, they have some sort of status there. So there you go.
Yeah.
So, I mean, going forward into the future, I think people will change their views, but it's going to be a gradual process, right? There'll be a lot more humiliation. I mean, I think what happened in the past 2 or 3 weeks with Germany. I mean, let's not pick on Germany. I mean, France, Britain, all these guys are going to get humiliated. And, people learn from humiliation. They're like, okay, well, we can continue to be angry and continue to throw a temper tantrum like a little child, or we can look at our situation, be adults about it, and be like, okay, here's our practical situation. What realistic options do we have? Rather than fantasy football, I'm going to take out my Viking sword, or I'm going to shoot a few bullets in the air, and 1,000 people are going to self-deport themselves because they're scared. Instead of looking at the world that way, I think eventually people will be more realistic, just because the people who are not realistic, they're just going to get angry all the time, and they'll just burn themselves out, basically. Basically, so that's what it is.
I agree. And Kenaz made a good point about empires, which is what people don't understand. Well, empires by nature are multi-ethnic, multi-confessional, and it goes all the way back to the Roman Empire. But I guess in every empire, you have what is called the Reichsvolk, the imperial people, which is I would say the guiding the leading ethnicity, basically, that sets the standards. And it's definitely true in, say, the Russian Federation, and was also true in the Soviet Union and the Russian Empire before this. I mean, you have a very large number of different ethnicities in the Russian Empire, but the Russian ethnicity is still the majority, I think over 80%, right? Yeah. And the Russian language and basically Russian culture or Russian traditions or Russian customs are basically the imperial traditions. And it's the imperial language, basically, while other languages are recognized. They're only spoken in, say, autonomous regions, basically, together with Russian, right? I mean, because Russian is required everywhere in Russia. While these other recognized languages like Tatar, for example, is only spoken and, I mean, really official in the Autonomous Republic of Tatarstan, right? Where you have bilingual street signs in Russian and Tatar, basically. And I guess it was the same in the Roman Empire, right? So the ones who were the imperial people in the Roman Empire, the leading people, the leading ethnicity. But that doesn't mean that they forced their culture on other ethnicities, right? Because you had, say, the Jews and the Germanics, the Germanic tribes, even the ones that were incorporated in the Roman Empire, pretty much free to practice their own tradition and have their own heritage, basically. I think the only thing that was expected of them was to pay their respects to the emperor, basically, to show loyalty to the emperor. And I guess it's the same in Russia today, right? Because Kadyrov, he can pretty much run Chechnya a caliphate, basically, like an Islamic republic
Yeah.
inside Russia. And I think Putin doesn't care because Ramzan Kadyrov is 100% loyal to the center, to Moscow and to Putin.
Yeah.
And this is how I think it was in the Roman Empire. And that's why, say, in Roman history, you have this conflict between Rome and Judea. And I think, the conflict started because Judea refused to recognize the authority of the emperor. And that's all that was expected of them, basically.
Yeah.
And it's the same today, right? So I think the core people is necessary to manage the empire, basically, while the other ethnicities can be respected, right?
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's the same in America and the United States. I mean, at least until now, because what is the percentage of white people now? It's still around 50%, I suppose. I mean, they're still the majority, and I would say that what American culture is basically white American culture when people think of American culture, because everything else they consider ethnic, right? Including Mexican, even though Mexicans are an integral part of the United States and have been for hundreds of years. So I think that is pretty much the makeup of the future, the multipolar world, basically, the new age of empires, where as Kenaz correctly stated, you have China, you have countless ethnicities, but you still have a core culture, basically. Same in the Russian Federation, same in the United States, same in India, of course, obviously. So, I think empires are the future, or civilization states, as they're called these days. And I think nation states, the relevance of nation states is pretty much on the way out.
Yeah, exactly. No,
sorry, I would also like to add. I would like to add something real quick.
Oh, go for it.
So, and I would even argue. Yeah, I would even argue that nation states are the true enemy of diversity, because it is actually nation states that level the different cultures and the different ethnicities and force them to conform to this national culture, basically, which is completely artificial, like in Spain with the Basques, for example, or in France with the Corsicans. And people resist this, or in Germany with the Sorbs, during the Third Reich, for example. They try to suppress it, like these different ethnicities. And I think that if you really want to protect ethnicities, or if you want to give them space to thrive, it's only possible in an imperial space, where you have an empire of regions, basically, where people are allowed to flourish according to their own traditions, and without the pressure to 100% conform to some kind of national standard.
Yeah, I expect that as the bankruptcies happen, and as these societies, and it's not just going to be Western societies, a lot of non-Western societies will also be affected. But as they become weaker and they go bankrupt and they go through multiple defaults, the autonomous regions, like these different ethnic groups, these different cultures that are not the dominant ethnic group, that are not the dominant language or what have you, they're going to suddenly find themselves running the show, right? And this other guy, the national government, who for a long time, they're like, oh, you got to conform, you got to do this, you got to assimilate, blah, 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 blah. Suddenly, the guy in the countryside is going to be like, bro, you're just broke, man. You are broke. You can't do anything, right? Like, okay, if you want us to do some bare minimum things, we can probably help you out there, but we run affairs now, man. Like, and you can't even do anything about it, right? Like, okay, I'm going to send in the military and crush you because you're like an ethnic or linguistic group that I dislike or whatever. Like, I don't think that's even morally acceptable in many parts of the world. But even if you tried that, I mean, some basic things, Sir Kenaz, you got to pay the troops, number one. Number two, you got to pay the civil servants. Number three, you just got to pay people, right? And if you're not doing that stuff, I mean, yeah, you could be the dominant ethnic group or whatever, but that's not permanent, man. You can lose that status, and you can, a quick way to lose it, go bankrupt, right? Go bankrupt, not pay people, not pay soldiers their salaries, see if the country sticks around or not. So,
yeah, I mean, I expect you're going to have basic ideas. I mean, the way I like to say it, in the United States, because England had the one drop rule where, if you had one drop of foreign blood in your ancestry, you were, one drop of black blood was enough to make you like a Negro.
Yeah.
If you go like a little bit south of our border, you get into Mexico, into Latin America, you have like, okay, we got blancos, we got mestizos, we got castizos, we got indios, we got negros. Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be much more. We're going to be looking at the world as like a melange of different ethnicities. And, there are definitely tensions within Central and South America between different groups. I mean, you will see tensions arrive on occasion. That's just ethnic tensions. You'll see religious tensions when you have cultures living alongside each other. You run into like trouble once in a while. But for the most part, you get a bunch of people that just want to live together and be left alone, who really don't have any particular grudge for their neighbors. That's more the default setting than anything.
Yeah. And you can't you can't make the argument that, enough, these people have been brainwashed. If we just like undo the brainwashing, suddenly they'll just become based ethno-nationalists like me. I'm like, no, dude, you're the guy who's fucking brainwashed, right? Like, you want people to, like Sir Kenaz was saying, hate their neighbor and, like, fight their, friends and what have you. Like, you're the one who's abnormal. Like, they're behaving very normally, right? You're the one behaving abnormally, right? And if you think you can, like, brainwash them into, I don't know, shooting their relatives and their neighbors or whatever, like, you can go to Brazil and you can go to some of these families and whatnot, right? They're not only are they married to like black people or whatever, right? Some of them are just outright their family, right? Like, relative or like third cousin or whatever, like, and you telling them, right? You telling them to fight. I mean, that's ridiculous, right? And it's not just Brazil. You can go to the southwestern United States, right? Like what's his name? Sir Aspen, who we've had on the show a few times, right? Like, what are the numbers like, Sir Kenaz? Like 15, 20, 25% admixture. With regard to like, okay, well, third cousin or like outright marriage or like this thing or the other thing. Yeah. No one's gonna fall for it, man. Like, you telling people to fight for quote unquote the white race. Well, it sounds very romantic and what have you, but then you gotta peel back the onion a bit. Well, what are you actually telling people to do? You're telling people to fight their relatives, their friends, and their neighbors. And I just think that's a losing proposition. It's not going to happen, basically.
It is a losing proposition. It's like that's, the problem was this I've noticed in the States after Occupy Wall Street starts in 2011, we suddenly saw this massive surge of interest in racism, sexism, homophobia, transphobia, ableism, everything you could ever possibly want to be offended about except income inequity and class consciousness.
Yeah.
I have never thought that this was a coincidence.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's like, you're basically buying the psyop when you're buying into this, Yeah, the real problem with America is race, well, the real problem with America is, these groomers and queers. It's like, no, the real problem with America is the parasitic rich are getting richer and everybody else is getting poorer.
Yeah. Like some of these people, they think if America is 99% white, all the problems will magically disappear, right? I mean, there's people out there who believe that, Sir Kenaz. They're in for a rude awakening.
Yeah, there are people believe lots and lots of stupid things. The American ability to believe stupid things is truly breathtaking.
There we go.
I mean, I would say that what you're like, I just don't see that being really a winning cause. I mean, maybe 50 years ago, 60 years ago, the way I always explain it, I'm 60 years old. I was born 2 years before Loving versus, I think it was West Virginia, the law that made interracial marriage legal in the across the United States. I was born a year after the Civil Rights Act.
Yeah.
So I mean, basically, you have to be a decade older than me. You got to be pushing 70 or dragging 70 to actually remember that stuff firsthand.
Yeah.
Most kids today, they don't remember it.
Well, and it doesn't make sense in the first place. I never understood this obsession, by the way, with when the white nationalists talk about miscegenation, for example, and people shouldn't marry outside their race. I'm like, but who are you to tell other people what they should do, like in their own private life? What about freedom of association? And why is it a problem if, like, some white guy, I don't know, has a Chinese wife, a Malayan wife? Why is that a problem for you specifically? Like why does it offend you? I wonder, right? It's very strange to me.
Yeah, most people prefer being around people that look like them and share their culture. Not everybody does.
Yeah.
And people fall in love so it's like that's, you're not going to have this sudden pump to, you're not like, it's a stupid fear. It's like, okay, you're real. Like, I remember this French TV show that was all alarmed about like white people converting to Islam. The example they gave was this white guy who'd reverted, his wife later reverts, and they got 7 white ethnic French kids.
Yeah.
And they were horrified by this, because these kids are Muslims. It's like, look, do you want ethnic French people? Presumably you do. You got 7 little ethnic French people right here who are all going to grow up.
But they're Muslims, Sir Kenaz. They don't count.
To have big families.
They're Muslims.
Yeah, okay. So your genetics change when you become Muslim. Like, so you're telling me that let's follow this. Let's follow this line of logic. You're telling me that when you become a Muslim, you cease to become French.
That's basically
now,
it.
Does an Algerian who becomes who lives like a liberal, secular French person become a Frenchman?
No.
Oh, so that doesn't work. So, okay, what do you want to preserve here? A race or a culture?
They can't even answer that question. See, that's the point. They don't even know what the fuck they're fighting for, right? It's just a bunch of confusion and it's a bunch of emotion. And there's no like, okay, so you don't accept the 7 kids that are Muslim to be French. You don't accept the Algerian guy who lives like a French dude, whatever, and like drinks wine and eats cheese all day as a French guy. What the fuck are you preserving, man? It's like, hey man, I want him to be Roman Catholic. He has to be white. He has to be French. He has to be all these things. And I'm like, okay, man, but that's not something that's realistic. It's not realistic because like that group of people that you just talked about, like what did Sir Constantine say at the beginning of the show? They're having like 1.1, 1.3 kids, right? Like mathematically, by their own actions, and again, I don't believe in this bullshit of like brainwashing or whatever, but by their own actions, they've decided, you know what, man? I don't want future generations. I just want to live this lifestyle, party, maybe have some beer or whatever, or some wine if I'm a Frenchman. And that's just how it is, man. Like, and you can't take that group of people and then say, well, your personal actions are like brainwashed or whatever, or blah, blah, blah. I want you to live your life this way. Like Sir Constantine was saying, who the fuck are you? Who the fuck are you to tell them how to live? You're not even the fucking emperor of the country, right? If you were, then I guess you had some say on the matter. Yeah. But you're not even the fucking emperor. Like you can't do decrees and shit. Like what are you, man? And so it's like, okay, so you're upset that these people are behaving that way. You don't want these alternatives, which are more realistic. You want what do you want, man? What the fuck do you want? Are you like some child who's like, man, wah, 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 I want my fire truck and I want the fire truck to be red in color and it has to be like, you're just behaving like a child, man. I'm sorry. But that's what this looks like to me. It's like, it's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. So,
Well, as Kenaz said earlier, it doesn't even make sense anyway, because, the generation, as Kenaz correctly stated, that remembers the state of affairs before is almost dead now. It's almost gone. And the new generation, like my children and your children, they have no concept of any of this stuff that the white nationalists are talking about. You will never be able to convince them.
Yeah.
It's virtually impossible because they live in a complete multicultural, multiracial society, at least in the big cities already right now. And the whole concept of having to stick to your own race is completely alien to them, especially when it comes to something like romantic relationships, because one guy falls in love with a woman of another race because that's how he feels. Those are his emotions.
Yeah.
And you're basically, the white nationalists are basically asking him to suppress his emotions, to pretend these emotions don't exist, but it doesn't work like this. Human nature doesn't work like this. It's completely unnatural and alien. Therefore, it is like some weird fantasy that has absolutely no basis in reality, in my opinion.
Yeah. Exactly. People will do this like temper tantrum. They'll do this fantasy for a while, but I think like eventually they'll just become such a pariah that people will be like, okay, so let's ignore these people and let's focus on something else, right? Which is probably what's going to happen. Brother Naji, you wanted to say something. We're kind of like, Sir Constantine, are you able to stay for a bit longer, or like, are you towards the end of your?
No, I can. Yeah, no, I can.
Fair
stay.
enough. No.
But let some other people talk.
No worries. I was just thinking because like normally you have your show. Normally when we do these, you do like 90 minutes to 100 minutes. So what I was thinking.
No, I'm not.
Oh, you can.
I can stay.
Wonderful. You can. Okay, wonderful. So okay, in that case, let's do some audience questions and let's let some other people. Okay, Brother Naji wanted to hop in. I'm gonna approve Brother Naji. Go ahead, good sir. You should be able to speak now. Questions, comments, observations, whatever you want to go for.
Sure. Nice to speak with you guys. I had a quick question on what your guys' thoughts are on Nassim Taleb's idea about localism and how localism sort of like the almost like the clan, right? Like the village and then the town and then the regional government and then the the federal government and then you could say after that maybe empire. How the sort of as you go up the chain, less and less people have skin in the game, and so more and more, I guess, fuckery happens, and then you end up in situations like you like you have in Europe and in these various states. And I don't know. I guess do you guys have any thoughts or opinions on that sort of idea of localism being kind of a bedrock of sort of just human governance and like I don't know.
Okay. Sir Constantine, thoughts and comments.
Well, yeah, my thoughts is that if you talk about localism and like small communities, I think, of course, it works best, as I mentioned earlier, in an imperial structure, because in a nation, you are forced to conform to sort of national standards. But in an empire, traditionally, you have like the imperial center, like I don't know, Moscow, Rome, or I don't know, London in the British Empire, or Rome, or even the Mongol Empire, Ottoman Empire. But I would say in the different regions of the empire, you always have much greater autonomy than you do in a nation state. And even in these autonomous republics, within the autonomous republics, I guess you have more, I would say, local councils, like town councils, or even city councils, I guess. And people basically know that they are part of an empire, but as you so correctly stated, they don't really have a lot of skin in the game, like what the imperial center does in terms of wars and so on. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, they know that they are part of this bigger structure. So they go to the empire because the empire still provides, the basic infrastructure, I suppose. But pretty much leaves these people alone.
Oh dear.
Practice.
Your voice is vibrating. Your voice is vibrating for some reason.
I don't know what it is. Can you hear me?
Now we hear you.
Yeah.
Now we hear
yes.
you.
So I don't try. It's just a crappy internet connection, I guess. So what I was going to say is that it's like the example I gave earlier, where basically you have like Kadyrov in Chechnya, pretty much doing whatever he wants, and I think the vast majority of Chechens like this state of affairs because they're devout Muslims, and this is how they want to live their lives. But at the same time, they're part of this bigger structure, which is called the Russian Federation. So they have to be loyal to it because the Russian Federation still protects them and provides all the necessary infrastructure projects and the means to live, basically. And that's why I think an empire of regions is the way to go. And I think it's also the future, in my opinion. Do you have any other comment?
No, fair enough. I wish I had. I went for a run earlier, and I got back home just maybe 30 minutes ago, and so I missed most of the conversation. I'm sure I'll go listen to the episode.
Oh, no worries.
When it comes out, and I would have better comments and suggestions and questions if I had listened to the full conversation. But
yeah,
you guys are yeah.
We were talking about we were talking about migration and bankruptcy and these types of things, and like we were talking about the fact that even in the case of like a bankruptcy, Europe doesn't become more white, and so we were kind of like ranting about that most.
That's a good point. Yeah,
Okay.
that's a fair point.
I think one problem that both America and Europe have made, but Europe may have gone a little more whole hog on it, is you need to bring, if you're going to bring migrants in, you have to have a standard of behavior that it's kind of like, okay, you're here, welcome, we're glad you're here, but here are the things you don't do.
Yeah.
And I feel like certainly in Europe, it's, we know, about the grooming gangs in England, like there've been like problems of violence in Sweden. We're just going to close our ears and like look away and pretend this isn't happening. And we're going to pressure like the locals who call it out for being racists and bigots. I mean, that guarantees greater tension.
Yeah.
I
absolutely, and that has been just, certainly I've noticed a lot of the people who fetishize migrants most and have the no human being is illegal signs in their yard in the United States are generally people that if they know any immigrants at all, they're the Mexicans that come to trim their hedges.
Yeah.
They don't really, so it's like a lot of the people, and I would guess the same thing is happening in Europe. I mean, pretty much the people who are most gung-ho about we must treat these poor benighted refugees with kindness, don't really have to live around those refugees.
The thing is, right, like whenever people bring up the grooming gang or whatever the fuck they want to call it, I always respond in two ways. Number one, it's not a quote-unquote black and brown or religious thing, right? It's less about the group of people doing the crime and more about the failure of the authorities and the local police and whatnot to keep the social cohesion, right? Like, if you took any of these grooming gangs, right, and you dumped them in India or Pakistan or Bangladesh, like, what would actually happen to them? Like, let's think about this, right? So they try to do the deed, right? The grandpas and the uncles and the brothers get a hold of, or like they figure out what's going on. Like at 3 a.m. at night, they're not even going to call the cops, man. Like at 3 a.m. at night, they're going to show up to the guy's place. They're going to have a bunch of machetes, right? Like they'll do the deed. The cops will be bribed or whatever. Or they'll be told, look, man, just look the other way, right? We got to do what needs to be done. And then like, okay, they do the deed. And at 5 a.m. in the morning, they get fed to the fishies, right? That's basically what would happen, right? Like all these people bitching and whining, oh my gosh, the Muslims are raping us or whatever. Look, man, you're
100%, sir.
Yeah. Like
100%.
You're focusing on the wrong thing, man. You're focusing on the wrong thing. The thing you should be focusing on is why the so-called police, law enforcement, the lawyers, the government, why are these guys so fucking irrelevant that they cannot even defend their own citizens? That's what you should be focused on. You shouldn't be focused on, oh my gosh, a bunch of criminals are okay, they're a bunch of criminals. Criminals do criminal stuff. Well, thank you, Captain Obvious, right? But like people are very ridiculous about this. They don't use their brain when they're talking about the subject. Sir Arnov is here. Good sir. Any questions, comments, or whatnot? You are speaker. Go on right ahead. You should be able to speak. Unless you've got audio issues, because I cannot hear a word you're saying. No. Did we lose him?
We may have lost Ahnaf. Try getting back on, coming on and coming off and coming back on. Ahnaf, we'll be glad to get you in here.
Yeah, he's speaking from Mumbai, so there might
and
be
we got Ahmed.
Okay, good. Sir Ahmed is here. Nice.
Sir Ahmed.
So
Hello,
we got an
Sir
international. I mean, obviously, Badr Naji doesn't live in Pakistan, but he's half Pakistani. Sir Arnov is from Mumbai, and I think Sir Ahmed is somewhere in East Africa. So there we go. We got an international audience already.
We have an international audience. No, I mean, I think obviously the problem stems there from, the leadership not wanting to take that responsibility and acknowledge it. And, as I've said, most Americans don't want to have sanctuary cities where it's like, okay, you committed a crime, we will charge you with a lesser crime and we won't report you to ICE for deportation.
Yeah.
Like when you start doing things like that, you tend to get a lot of locals who decide, well, all the illegals are a bunch of criminals.
Yeah.
And that's not productive either.
No, it's not. And, unfortunately, that's where things are at with regard to, people taking these extremist views and these unethical views. And, again, they're focusing on the wrong thing. They should be focused on state capacity, the lack of the ability of the government to do things, etc., right? That being said, Sir Ahmed is speaker. Go ahead, Sir Ahmed. Questions, comments? You've got the floor. Go on right ahead.
Sorry for not speaking for a long time. Had a busy month, and it's gonna have a busy month from here on out too.
No worries.
What was my question? Next week, it's the APEC summit in South Korea. Trump and Big Ping, they're gonna meet each other, and
Yeah.
I wondered. Many people had said that it's not going to be a high stake meeting, and I wondered. And I wondered to myself, who's gonna fold? I think it's obvious Trump is gonna fold, but what do you expect the outcome to be?
What do I expect the outcome to be? APEC summit. Interesting. Honestly, I think the Americans are gonna play it up, and they're gonna say what they've been saying for the past few weeks, which is that, any day now we're gonna get these amazing trade deals, and trillions of dollars are gonna pour into the economy. Meanwhile, what's actually happening is the government shutdown is getting worse, and the soldiers are not getting paid, and all this other bullshit. So it's going to be a lot of posturing. I mean, they'll probably have a few sound bites for the cameras, and they'll try and make it look like, oh, look at how strong we are, or whatever. But yeah, I mean, Big Ping. That's a good nickname, actually. But no, I mean, Sir Kenaz and myself and a couple of Eurabiamania guests, we've been monitoring the situation with regard to gold and silver, and how the Indians are buying up all the silver and all the Chinese are buying up all the gold. It's pretty bad out there, man. At the rate things are going, this reminds me of the early 1800s when the Qing dynasty was grabbing all the silver from the United Kingdom, Great Britain. Then you had the Opium Wars, courtesy of, it's not the only reason, but one of the main reasons being the shortage of silver in British mines. Well, we're seeing the rematch, man. After 200 years, we're seeing the rematch. And this time, I gotta tell you, I don't think there is a military off-ramp. I think the Indians and Chinese are gonna buy up the gold and silver, and they're gonna dictate terms of surrender to America and Europe. I genuinely believe that's where things are going with regard to what I've seen with regard to the London Metal Exchange and all these other things. Sir Ahmed, hand raise, go ahead.
There was actually an interesting report from the Rand Corporation today when they released a paper regarding Taiwan, where they end American relationships, in the U.S.-China relations, where they ascertained that it needs to be a reset within the Washington establishment that they should just throw the whole idea of Taiwanese independence like off the ramp, and pretty much confirms the report a month ago that they should de-pivot from Asia.
They should just use the word surrender, man. They should just use the word surrender. We are going to surrender the Pacific Theater because we can no longer fight the Chinese there. That's literally what that paper said.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. I mean, we're going, we have to take Taiwan off the table. Okay, suppose today China comes in and invades Taiwan. What are we going to do about it? Are we going to get into a nuclear war with China? Are we going to bring our ships over to fight against China's larger navy and exponentially larger production capability?
No.
I mean, it's like, this is kind of like saying, okay, we have established that water is wet.
Yeah. That's basically it.
We've established that, okay, Taiwan's off the table. We cannot, if China chooses to take Taiwan, there's nothing we can do about it.
That's basically what the paper was saying. I mean, they used a lot of diplomatic language, but it was basically, when I read the paper, and thank you, Sir Axmed, for bringing it up. I know which paper you're talking about. But okay, this is Rand Corporation. This is not like, North Korean deaths to America propaganda outlet, or some Iranian mullah writing this stuff. No, this is literally Rand Corporation. They do all of this military wargaming. They're flat out saying, yeah, we need a reset, which is like a euphemism for saying we cannot fight China, so we need to get off the table, and we need to focus on Western Hemisphere, which basically means, fight a war with Venezuela and these guys, right? So it's just like, okay, man, you want to fight the war, go on right ahead. China and India will buy the gold and the silver and squeeze you guys like an anaconda, basically. Sir Arnav, Brother Naji. Sir Arnav didn't get the chance to speak. Let's give it to Sir Arnav first.
Can you hear my voice?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
We hear you.
Thank God.
No worries.
Just regarding the gold and the silver, people now are giving away their old gold jewelry, and the jewelers now are melting the jewelry into gold bars.
Yeah, I heard. Yeah.
And the line that is outside jewelry shops right now, and the waiting time is insane.
Yeah.
Jewelers are working 16-hour shifts.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, right now it's Diwali, so obviously you have Dhanteras, so a lot of gold buying happens. Mm-hmm. But this is first time happening that people usually buy jewelry for wedding purposes and whatnot, but this is first time that the gold bar thing has come up, where people are melting jewelry for gold bar. And secondly, next year, Indian government is taking silver as a collateral.
Yeah.
10 kilo silver.
I saw that. Oh yeah. That's very,
as compared.
Oh yeah. It's very important, Sir Arnav. It's very important. Go ahead.
Yes. So that is quite historic what is happening.
Yeah.
Just one question to Sir Kenaz, as he said about civil rights. These white nationalists are always going after civil rights and whatnot, and okay, but who wrote those things? If they think these Negroes or these blacks are so uneducated, who actually wrote these laws?
I think the problem is these people are doing this. The closest thing I could say that I could compare this to was, somebody in India got the idea, we're going to recreate the Gupta Empire and we're going to take back all that land that we once had. We're going to become an imperial superpower. It's but, you can say this, you can talk about it. Can you do it? It's well, okay, we're going to roll the Civil Rights Act back. We're going to resegregate America. It's well, you could talk about it.
You and what army, bro? Where's your army?
What army? Who's
going
army, to do this on your behalf? Because presumably, how many people do you have that are ready to enforce this?
Yeah.
That's, again, it's, because I think that we're heading for a pretty serious economic and political and social crisis, I try to limit my discussions to practical and serious, questions and answers. The idea that you're going to fix everything by bringing back white and colored water fountains is not a serious answer. It's not, there's no sense really. Trying to convince you that you're wrong would be like the old thing about teaching a pig to sing. I'd be wasting my time and annoying the pig. That's it's not. There are a lot of people who want, and not even a lot of people. There's a small but loud group of people that share these beliefs. Those beliefs haven't really been a reality in the United States, I would say. Okay, since after the Civil Rights Act, you had a decade or two of people that were still trying to do the white nationalism stuff. Since the 90s, I would say, it's been decades since that movement was relevant in the U.S. That's, and again, I'm not any white nationalists are listening. I'm not saying this to insult you. I'm just saying the power the Ku Klux Klan had in the southern United States in the 50s and 60s versus the power any white nationalist movement has today. It ain't the same, guys. I'm not arguing with you on the fact, on whether or not you're right. I'm arguing with you on the fact that you don't have that same level of influence.
Yeah.
And, if you have some intelligent ideas on how you plan to spread it, I'm all ears, but most of the time, it just kind of seems to be like this, X, then a miracle happens, then we get,
the
white
death
America.
squads. Sir Kenaz, the death squads are going to show up, and they're going to remove the black and brown Untermensch. And then you ask them, where do the death squads come from? They're like, hey man, the ancestral memory of the white race will awaken from the Indo-European times when we slaughtered everyone or whatever the fuck. And that's going to awaken, and then we'll do all this shit. That's literally what they believe.
Irish and Ukrainian ancestry. The only ancestral memory I've got is the one that made me an alcoholic. It's no, you're not. This idea that you're going, Librarian of Celiano had a really excellent comment on this the last time he was on Eurabiamania. He pointed out, the white race, the European race. Show me a time in history when Europe was a unified area where everybody got along and all identified as my fellow Europeans.
Exactly. It's all rubbish. It's all rubbish. Sir Axmed, Brother Naji. Let's do Sir Axmed first and then go to Brother Naji.
No. Go with Brother Naji. He needs it more than me.
All right, Brother Naji, go ahead.
All right, I appreciate that, Sir Axmed. I have a quick point to what you were saying earlier, Sir Kenaz, that it is interesting. I remember maybe 2015, I became roommates with a Bolivian guy who, was brought to America when he was 9, and he overstayed his travel visa, and then his mom just started working in the fields, and he just grew up in America. And I remember he told me, hey, these Mexican immigrants that are coming in, they're like the poor, mostly native blood. That's why they're all 5'3", they're not, there are plenty of Europeanized Mexicans. So don't be fooled. There's an interesting genetic difference between the sort of the people who come here from Mexico and the actual ethnic makeup of Mexicans. Just to point that out. I remember I wasn't shocked, but I was like, oh, that's very interesting, because that makes a lot of sense. And so that kind of describes a little bit of the patterns of migration and who ends up where and what their sort of predilections are. But my other point, which is something that has been weighing on me, and I remember I mentioned this to you, Ahnaf, maybe, probably last March or something. where I thought about what are as the U.S. empire thrashes about in its, I don't know about death throes, but certainly as like a wounded dog, what are the easy targets and where can they try
Latin
and
America,
control?
bro. Latin
Right.
America.
So exactly. So I was listening to this guy, Stanislaw Krapavnik. I assume some of you have heard of this analyst. I think he's ethnically Eastern European, but he served in the U.S. Army and whatnot. He was discussing Venezuela, and he was describing how the retooling of so Venezuela, Iran, and Russia are the three places where you can get heavy sour crude. Okay.
Yeah, that's correct.
And
That's correct.
okay. And this was something that I kind of knew in the back of my brain, but it's a little bit kind of it adds. So
Yeah.
retooling whole companies in Beaumont, Texas, or whatever, to be able to refine that kind of oil is very difficult, and like that is a sort of a key choke point resource that they might be able to target, and they're clearly targeting Venezuela right now. Nobody believes this drug running bullshit. If you believe that, you're high on Trump copium, probably like
Okay,
way
but
too high.
brother,
But,
I gotta interrupt you here, brother. I gotta
sure.
interrupt you here. Venezuela is 50% larger than Ukraine. The jungles are three times more than Vietnam. How the fuck are they gonna get the oil, man? Like, even if let's say America does an attack on Venezuela. I mean, 1/5 of the fleet is parked there, and they start the attack. Okay, let's say they do what America's good at doing, which is like bombing hospitals and killing women and kids, right?
Sure.
Okay, so you kill 50,000 Venezuelans. They're just pissed at you, man. They're just gonna fight you at that point, right?
Right.
Like, you're not gonna get your business people and your geologists in there to grab the oil. Like, that's not gonna happen. Right. You're just in a fucking war zone.
So no, I hear you. So
yeah.
what this Stanislav Krapavnik analyst guy would say would be a lot of the oil infrastructure is actually offshore, and then it's pumped into. Okay, so if you think about they have littoral combat vehicles there. They have
sure.
various. Okay, that kind of a force that they have here. One, it would be mission creep, right? It would start with a possible decapitation, whatever, or what, but it would maybe start even less than that, just a blockade, and then
even if it starts that way, bro. Like, even if it starts that way, and they're like, okay, we're only gonna go for the offshore. Venezuela's got drones, man. Venezuela's got all this other. You cannot do a financial, like, basically you need to do geology and you need to do commerce in a fucking war zone where people are firing drones at you. It's not gonna happen, man. Like, the reason why in Iraq America still has oil fields in Syria is because the Kurds and these other groups, they keep the Americans safe as they're doing that. Like, they don't have that in Venezuela, man. They don't.
Right.
There's not a single group in like, even the opposition group who's like, we're gonna help out America if America invades.
Yeah.
They have no ground force. Like, they don't have 200,000 people who are gonna show up tomorrow and be like,
and
hey,
take
America,
a chunk of the coast, and
Hey, America, we're gonna defend your geologists as they survey and grab the oil. They don't have that, man. They don't.
Right, and so that's why I think this was my contention many months ago. I think there's a strong possibility for a serious blockade of Venezuela, and that could be just to squeeze. I mean, the U.S. thinks that sanctions are the golden ticket, and especially since Syria fell, the Assad regime fell. Whatever you think about them, I have negative thoughts, but even still, they may try this extreme sanctions regime. They still think that sanctions are harming Russia, right? The general consensus among military officers, think tankers in DC,
they believe their own supply.
Exactly. Yeah, they're getting high on their own supply. So they'll continue this as long as they can, and they have some runway, not very much, but some. So maybe they will try a blockade of Venezuela, see if they can squeeze the government, create some kind of popular discontent, and then potentially mobilize those ground forces that you were talking about. I mean, that's a long term. I doubt it's going to work.
Okay. You're correct. Like, everything you said about the American strategy, you're correct about that. Here's the problem. There's only two outcomes in which America wins. Outcome number one, there's a mass mobilization of the opposition who form a bunch of militias spontaneously. They take out Maduro themselves and invite the Americans in to rape them. That's the first way America wins. The second way America wins is if tomorrow Maduro takes like a samurai sword, commits seppuku on live television, and tells the Americans to rape Venezuela. Every other outcome, even if it's very, very beneficial for America at the beginning, every other outcome ends with attritional combat, right? Because again, this is not Iraq. We're not talking about Iraq. We're talking about Venezuela. We're talking about a country with jungles, a country with a lot of mountainous terrain, right? You're talking about Vietnam times 3 times 5. There's no appetite for this, bro. Like, you can kill a bunch of civilians. I'm not saying America can't kill. You can obviously kill lots of women and kids, but it's just going to be another forever war, right? And it's going to be like, okay, you think migration is bad right now. Wait till you see what happens when Venezuela goes tits up, right? From like the Americans bombing them, right? The migration flows to the southern border are going to be crazy, right? And we're not even factoring in the other possibility, which is that Russia and China starts providing Venezuela with like, anti-aircraft stuff and all this other stuff, right? We're not even factoring that in.
Sophisticated weapons.
Yeah. We are assuming that, okay, in the year 2025, America does a giant attack of Venezuela. Venezuela doesn't have the Russian and Chinese stuff that they're supposed to, and they get their ass kicked, right? Even if they get their ass kicked, right? Because of the limitation of geography, America can't do anything, right?
Again, I would say this, Ahnaf. It's we ran into this issue the other time we discussed this about Iran.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that necessarily. I'm assuming that the United States is going to invade Venezuela. I think that would be an insane,
That's what they're
even
saying,
for
man.
well,
Yeah.
they're fucking retarded, and they're retarded. And I know
Okay,
everyone
bro.
knows they're retarded.
Like,
What I'm saying is a blockade
yeah.
that squeezes Venezuela and creates,
Yeah.
for the next 5 years or 10 years, creates significant.
But America doesn't have 5
issues.
years, man. That's the thing. It doesn't have that long. That's the point.
I think America is, once again, it looks to me like the Latin American and South American strategy is very much the same kind of cargo cult ideation I saw in the Russia-Ukraine war. Basically the idea there appeared to be, well, last time we had a serious financial crisis, we pulled out of the Great Depression by putting all our factories on a wartime footing, and we wound up with decades of unparalleled prosperity. So we could do that again this time. And if we do, we're going to have like decades of unparalleled prosperity, after we win. The problem, of course, there is that we don't have a bunch of factories lying around idle. We have a bunch of factories that have been abandoned for decades. With Latin America, it looks like they're thinking, well, okay, we're going to move to the Western Hemisphere. So we're going to use the greatest army in the world to take on South America. They don't realize we don't have a great army anymore. Yes,
Sir Kenaz?
Yes, Ahnaf.
Look, like Brother Naji, Sir Kenaz, I hate to interrupt all of your lovely analysis with the following disclaimer. The troops are not getting paid, right? Many of them are not receiving food stamps right now. I'm not fucking making this up. This is like people ask me the question, Ahnaf, government shutdown, isn't it meaningless? Well, not quite. It affects a lot of people. Okay, so a lot of them are not getting paid, right? They're not getting their food stamps. Yes, folks, yes, troops take food stamps, shocked Pikachu face. It's not just, the illegals who take food stamps. It's also actual citizens and veterans and actual military people. Okay, so they're not getting paid. They're not getting food stamps. Okay, 1 week from now, I think the food stamps guy, he basically said, okay, 1 week from now, we are unable to access our emergency funding because of the banking liquidity issues and these other things. So the food stamps will be cut off. And he got asked the question, okay, how many people will be affected by that? He said roughly 40 million people in America will either have their food stamps completely cut off or it will go down significantly. I mean, bros, like, there's not going to be a fucking Venezuela blockade. I'm sorry, man, but like, it's like, what's that quote? Every society is 5 meals away from revolution. America's not there yet, but it's beginning to flirt with that idea of like, hey man, we're America, we're different. So obviously, if we cut the food off, right, obviously no one's going to revolt.
I have to admit that I was shocked when I found out, like, they haven't, Trump hasn't given an executive order to say, look, screw the shutdown, give the troops their checks.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that is like, I could see a Venezuela blockade happening.
Yeah.
I don't think that the Venezuela blockade will be particularly successful. I mean,
No.
I think what they're doing right now is they're shooting a bunch of boats that may be drug boats or maybe fishing boats. It's not entirely clear which.
Yeah.
And again, that's kayfabe for the audience.
Yeah.
But I don't think that if it comes down to we're going to war with Venezuela, we're going to war with Colombia.
Yeah.
America's magic number is 50,000. Get
Yeah.
50,000 serious casualties, 50,000 boxes come home. Americans start protesting in the street. Why are we in this war? It's been that way since Vietnam.
Yeah.
So we get that starting. We're going to get 50,000 casualties right quick if we try going into a jungle war.
Yeah.
What if they just pump fake the entire war? Like they did in Friday. Just pump fake it. Just send some B-52 bombers. Just send 250 B-52 bombers.
Yeah.
Just hover over the airspace and then fly back to Puerto Rico. And then that's it.
And they'll say we bombed a bunch of I mean, honestly, they could just do that and like they can tell their base that look at all these drug dealers that we killed. Yeah, they could certainly do that. Yeah. But
what worries me with Venezuela and Colombia is we know that they've got drones, they got missiles. They don't have to shoot at U.S. Navy naval vessels. They have to start shooting at vessels going through the Panama Canal.
Oh, there we go.
All of a sudden, you got a Houthi issue on your hands.
Yeah.
They don't have to shoot every one that's going through. They don't even have to sink any of them. They just got to set a couple on fire, do damage to a few of them. The insurance rates for crossing through the Panama Canal will go right through the ceiling.
Yep.
And at that point, they've got America by the short and curlies.
Yeah, so you want to blockade us? Uno reverso card. We're going to shut down the Panama Canal. Yeah, so there we go. No, brother, Sir Kenaz is right. I can see them attempting it. I don't think it's going to be a long-term thing, right? Just because they have the stuff to harass shipping in the Panama Canal. They have it. We know they have it because Rand Corporation and these guys, they wrote reports back in the day saying that the Iranians have done technology transfer with Venezuela with the anti-ship ballistic missiles and these other things, right? So
yes, they have the Nasser, they have other ballistic missiles,
got all this
anti-ship missiles.
Yeah, and it's possible that they're not that effective against American ships. Fair enough, man. But against civilian ships, 100%, man. Civilian ships going through the Panama Canal, yeah. So what I'm focusing on right now is what is actually going to happen on November 1st, November the 2nd. Is it going to be 40 million people have no access to food stamps right then and there? Or is it going to be a more gradual thing? I think it's more the latter, but it's getting very, very problematic for America, right? Especially this whole Venezuela circus of we're going to invade Venezuela. Meanwhile, the troops have not been given their food stamps and they've not been paid. You're flirting with disaster here, folks. Just putting it out there. So,
yeah, that's the thing. I was surprised by that because I would have expected, this is why I always say Trump is the world's worst dictator. He is for all the stuff you guys fear. This guy is
Sir Kenaz, the libtards, right? The liberals and the lefties and the libtards. Oh my gosh, Trump is a demon fascist, and I'm like, no, he's not, man. If he was, he's the most incompetent fascist I've ever seen, man. Holy shit.
Yeah, I mean that is exactly it. He's absolutely I'm trying to imagine a Mussolini or a Hitler or a Stalin making the mistake of I don't have to worry about paying the troops.
Right. Well, there's another level of analysis, which is, just if you I think a lot of the time Americans get caught up in headlines and posts, and it's like left versus right. Oh, it's Chuck Schumer versus Donald Trump, Kamala Harris versus Trump, whatever. It's like if you zoom out, in my opinion, my humble opinion, it's like, dude, you realize there are cabals of special interests, whether they're corporate sector, groups, or whether they're, foreign national groups, what have you, that fund all of this shit because of Citizens United, and like the people who are presented to us and that go on all of these Sunday morning talk shows, and or even our elected officials, even at the presidential level, in my opinion. I mean, what are they really? They're almost court jesters who are attempting to sell things to the American public and mollify certain concerns. But the concerns are growing, and and as you guys rightly point out, when you have 40 million Americans who rely on SNAP benefits and don't get their bread, many of them in the military, that's not something that a court jester can just speak to really fast and get through, and then on to the next headline. It's more like, oh, hey, this is
Life and death.
actually
It's actually life and
right.
death.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the rubber is meeting the road, in my opinion.
Oh, enough. The government shut down. Man, it's just nothing ever happened. Yeah, sure, it was nothing ever happens for about a month. But, give it some time. Like, what do the kids say? Let them cook. Let them cook a bit, right?
Gotta let
So,
it cook.
I'm gonna watch it very carefully. I might write something for my own Substack, or I might send something to Sir Constantine. I gotta finish my paper on France, so I'll finish that first. But I'm gonna be observing very closely, what happens after November the 1st. Because if it's like, okay, well, a bunch of troops and their kids and their wives don't get the fucking food stamps, man. Oh my gosh, you think Charlie Kirk and Arena was bad. Wait till you see that multiplied by 1,000. It's going to be really bad. It's going to be like the violence and there is no society on the planet, no human society in the past 6,000 years where it's like the troops are not getting paid and people are not getting their food. And oh, don't worry, guys, they're not going to revolt. It's not happened. So there we go, right? Sir Axman, go ahead.
So, I was gonna change the topic just a little bit quick, but yesterday, the Trump administration pardoned Changpeng Zhao, the co-founder, the founder of Binance.
Yeah.
And the reason for that was because of a World Liberty Finance, the new Ponzi scheme that the Trump family cooked up. And they decided to fund, I don't know the exact details of the story, but the point is, in order to pump in some new money into this new scheme, they decided to pardon the founder of Binance, CC, as he's called, in order to help him steer and help them finance up the world finance liberty. And the main point I'm trying to take is that this is the most blatant form of financial defraudment, and it proves my point that cryptocurrency has always been or has turned into a huge Ponzi scheme.
Yeah. Just a quick housekeeping note. Sir Constantine, it's very, very late night for him over there. He's having some connection issues as well, so I think he has bid me farewell on Telegram. Thank you, Sir Constantine, for being a lovely co-host. It was a pleasure. So good night to you over there. But no, to get back to Sir Axmed and the Ponzi scheme stuff. Like, bro, JP Morgan is just saying, hey, man, if you got crypto, we'll accept it as collateral. And I laughed so loudly when I saw it. I'm like, holy shit. Is this how it ends? Western civilization is going to take fucking crypto as collateral. Meanwhile, India and China takes gold and silver as collateral. This is how it fucking ends, doesn't it? Oh, my gosh. Holy shit, man. Oh, my God. Sir Kenaz, JP Morgan takes crypto as collateral, or they will in the coming months. What do you think about that?
I mean, I've always been a bit of a crypto skeptic, I'll admit, I'm intrigued by some of the ideas, but the problem is, well, I'd say the problem is that, cryptocurrency is an attempt to get back to a gold standard without gold. And it's kind of like, okay, you got some magic numbers here. You got a blockchain where you can look and you can see where everything is happening. I'm not, really sure that, one of the problems big is that running cryptocurrency is just about as electricity intensive as AI. I mean, I don't see most of what cryptocurrencies are they taking? Are they taking the old timers like Bitcoin and Electrum? Is my Hawk Twa coin going to be worth something or?
Yeah, you'll be able to finance your underwater car payment with Ethereum very soon. Don't worry.
Dear.
Don't worry.
Yeah.
You'll be fine. Just give us your Ethereum, but actually we'll probably default on your Ethereum because it'll go down, and then you won't be able to do that. But you already gave us your Ethereum, that kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I'm not really seeing a lot, I don't think crypto is coming to save us.
It's
What?
more. It's
Sir
less than
Kenaz?
saving you. It's
Sir Kenaz, I thought Bitcoin is like the Bitcoin's like the fucking orange, whatever it's called, like the orange answer to the universe, right? If we got enough Bitcoin, like what is Max Kaiser, that fucking scammer? What did he say? He's like, oh, you just gotta buy the Bitcoin, man. Bitcoin is the energy of the universe. Like,
what I always found fascinating with Bitcoin is Bitcoin got started by a lot of crypto libertarians that were like, we're going to have a free and untrammeled market. And we're then shocked to discover that free markets attract a lot of scammers. Oh, who would have thought that? It's like, basically they've had to learn the reason for every law, every securities law that's on the books.
Yeah.
But it's quite interesting to see the evolution of cryptocurrency and the discussion behind it. In the early 2010s, it was seen as the libertarian way of defecting from central banks, and in the late 2010s to the early 2020s, it was seen as a free money for anyone who's willing to escape the 9-to-5 grind. And during the Trump administration, now it's so blatant that it's nothing more than a Ponzi scheme, and everyone's in it. And I always said about crypto to my friends, it's the only scam where you can make money. You're not a sucker if the person next to you is a sucker too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, do people forget the name Sam Bankman-Fried? Is that such ancient history? Was that in the Roman times? Was he Samuel Bankmanus Friedus or some shit? No, dude, that was fucking 3 years ago, man. Barely. It was like 2.5 years ago. And no, I mean, it's so funny you bring that up, brother Ahmed. I have friends who made probably 30 million on crypto. They probably started with like 1 million, and then they got kind of lucky, and then they lost 20 million, right? And I'm talking about young guys in the US, like young engineers, 27-year-olds who put all of their savings into crypto. And their wives, thank God they had wives. Their wives had to fucking shake them in the night and say, "Hey, man, you have $10 million here. Don't keep fucking," you know what I'm saying? Don't be a sucker. Take the 10 million out. And you know what I'm saying? Like, and that's real. Like,
there's no shame in walking away from the casino table, right? You're not proving yourself to anyone, man.
Exactly.
You got the 10 million, get the fuck out, run the fuck out. Because again, house always wins at the end of the day, right? But like for them, it's like a form of addiction. They can't stop, right?
Exactly.
Like they just keep gambling until they lose everything. Unfortunately, that's kind of how they operate. So, oh dear, I genuinely feel bad for. Actually, I don't really. I used to, but I'm beginning to be like more and more like, you got to learn the harsh lessons of life. But these people, man, like some of them, like a few weeks ago, you had that flash crash of Bitcoin by like 20% or something. And some of them, it just got absolutely wiped out because like a lot of these guys, they are trading on margin. They are doing these shorts and these other things. And so like, their portfolios cannot take like a flash crash or whatever. So they just get like 95%, 99% wipeout or whatever. Right. It's like, okay. All right, bro. I mean, maybe the Indians and the Chinese buying up all that gold and silver and deleveraging all of the bonds, all of the crypto, all of the stocks. Maybe that's good for you, right? People are going to get upset at me for saying this, but maybe bondage and slavery is good for someone like you who can't take the 10 million and run away from the casino table. Maybe that's what you deserve. Sir Arnav is back. Go ahead.
As the only person here who actually works in crypto, can I present a small defense of it?
Go for it.
No, please, go ahead. I don't claim to be a crypto expert.
Yeah. I mean, the problem with crypto is that one of the core issues with crypto is that it has no sort of head of marketing. So the only thing you ever hear about crypto is all the frauds and the scams in crypto.
Yeah.
So that is an issue. But I think so. One thing with crypto, I work in the security side of crypto. I'm not in the speculative side of crypto. So one of the things with crypto, I think so, which is very useful for the future, is that it has made money transfer internationally very easy. As compared to like wiring money. Like I know people who have wired, like who have through Bitcoin, like send money to Afghanistan. So and in South American countries where you have like basically the prices change every day through DAOs and stuff, you can do it. Now the problem with crypto and is basically with all technology is that anytime any new technology comes, as the myth of progress says, they have to make it the biggest thing on earth possible.
Yeah, that's right.
My thing with crypto is that it is a good subset, good sort of niche subset. It cannot ever sort of topple the mainstream, but it's a nice sort of hedge to have against the financial system.
Got it.
I mean, if you look at it in that sense, it makes sense. But if you make crypto that guy was speaking about, making it the energy of the universe, whatever bullshit, and a lot of this bullshit is there. Unfortunately, if you don't use this bullshit, VCs don't give you the money. So it's a necessary code for you to get money on. But I think so. Your attitude towards crypto is majoritarily right. But it is useful in maybe not in non-US, non-European terms. It is quite useful in Africa, in South America, in Asia and all. It is still quite useful as compared to maybe a general sort of average user in the US or in Europe.
Sure, brother.
Is what I will say. And especially Eastern Europe, like most crypto sort of engineers come from Eastern Europe. So a lot of that is there as well.
Mr.
A lot of
you're right.
places where
You're right.
there isn't much economic sort of financial this thing.
You're right.
Crypto is
You're right.
working there more as compared to established markets. That's it. Just my small sort of defense of the sector. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. But you're right, Mr. Jindal. You're right. It is useful as a currency. But the problem is, white niggas don't use it as a currency. They use it as an investment. They use it as speculative asset finance.
Yeah. I mean, like Sir Arnav is talking about like responsible use of crypto as like an efficient technology for money transfer. Okay, if that's how everyone treated it, I would be like, okay, you know what, crypto is a good thing, right? But that's not like Sir Axon. Like, yeah, white niggas, what do they use it for? They use it as a fucking gambling thing.
Yeah,
they use it to speculate and all the other shit. Yeah,
and exactly. And let's just look at Bitcoin right now, right? The market cap, I believe, is approximately $2.22 trillion. Does an efficient money transfer function merit a $2.2 trillion market cap for Bitcoin alone? I don't know. I'm not sure. I actually am not sure. I tried to short Coinbase way back and I got burned. Well, I made some money and then I got burned. But yeah, I mean, and I was one of those white niggas. I am half white. But at the same time,
Oh, but
no,
brother,
I
you
seriously
can't be
doubt that.
half white, bro. You can't be half white. It's the one
Well,
drop rule, remember?
yeah, one drop. So I'm fully white or I'm fully brown. I think I'm more fully brown.
You're like a third world savage. Like if we drop you in the United Kingdom, you're gonna be like a part of the grooming gang or something, right?
Yeah,
And
that's
you'll
a
be
good, brother.
that's what they believe in,
That's a
man.
great.
That's what they believe. Yeah,
No,
yeah.
I know, brother. That's a very good Twitter handle, though. Third World Savage. That's actually really good. That's very good.
Oh
Thank
my
you for
god.
that. That might be my alias on
They
Substack.
love their yeah, bro. But they love their cuckold fantasy. That's what it is, man. It's a cuckold fantasy. But like no, like Sir Arnov is correct. I mean, I don't dislike crypto people as people, right? What I dislike is the way in which they use the technology, right? It's like you use it as like a fucking gambler, right? Like if I walked around and I saw a bunch of gold and silver people using it as like fucking gambling, I would say the same thing. I'm like, you're a fucking gambler. You're a fucking addict, right? But that's not what they do, man. Like the average metals person, like bullion, silver, gold, whatever you want to call them. Yeah, I mean, some of them, they believe weird shit. They're like, oh, these mining companies are gonna get to Antarctica and it'll be like, okay, they believe crazy shit. Fair enough. But the average person like that still has a concept of like, look, resources are finite. The geology has to be like this. You need to do surveys. You gotta do a lot of work. Okay, I don't see that from the average crypto bro. The average crypto bro is like a weird mix of like technology optimist and gambler, right? And that's what I really dislike, right? I really dislike that. Like when I see that stuff, I'm like, bro, you're just done. Get out of here. Right? Get the fuck out of here, right? I'll take off my shoe, Bangladesh style. I'll hit you with the shoe and kick you out, basically, right? that's kind of my short response to that. Oh, Sir Axman, you got your hand up. Go ahead.
Oh, no. It's a typo. My bad.
No worries. But yeah, like, people will do, I guess there will be people who do interesting things with crypto. I don't have a problem with them, right? I have a problem with the gamblers who I see as the majority, unfortunately, right? But that's kind of what's happening over there. Let me see what's going on with world affairs, because I think I saw something over here a few moments ago. Okay, Armchair Warlord. This is 4 hours ago. I wanted to read this, but I think you gents were making a lot of cool points, so I just decided to keep it off. Okay. So before that, okay, October 24th, Adam Cancrin. I don't know how to pronounce that. My apologies. Okay. New. The Pentagon confirms to CNN it will funnel $130 million from an anonymous Trump ally towards military payment, a striking departure from government procedure that raises questions about its legality and the donor's identity and interests. Okay, and then Armchair Warlord quotes the tweet and he says, okay, people keep on saying this will keep the troops from missing a paycheck next Friday. The DoD payroll in 2024 was approximately $192 billion with a B, or about $8 billion per bi-monthly payday. So $8 billion versus $130 million. You guys do the math. Okay, this is less than 2% of what's required to make payroll on October 31st. Ouch. Sir Kenaz, thoughts and comments and concerns?
Well, I'm at least happy to see that Trump is smart enough to realize we've got to do something to pay them. I'm not sure how this will work out, but yeah, I agree with you completely that not paying the troops is a really good recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
So I want to see what happens with this. I mean, I'm assuming he has been trying to do something to get around this. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think each side is banking on the idea that the other side will take all the blame for this, and we're going to be seen as the nice and reasonable people. I think both sides are wrong.
Yeah. Both sides are wrong, Sir Kenaz, but, if they miss that paycheck, which it looks like next Friday, how many more paychecks can they miss? 2, 3, 4? And how many food stamps can they miss? How many days can they go hungry by? Like, at that point, you've got, the clock at that point is not, okay, America will collapse in a few years. No, it's like, okay, America will collapse in a few weeks if this continues, right? So there has to be a resolution to it. Either you gotta drop the food, you gotta dump the food in front of their face, or you gotta dump the money. You gotta give them food and you gotta give them money. If you can't, you're not the fucking government anymore, bros. You're gonna enter into like Bangladesh levels of like dysfunction if you don't pay them and if you don't give them food. So just fair warning right there. Yeah.
That is absolutely where you're at. If the Orange Man doesn't pull something out of his posterior within the next week or two, there's going to be very serious trouble afoot.
Yeah. And again, it might just be that it starts off small. It might just be like, okay, a bunch of political assassinations happen, or like a bunch of these like riots break out. But like if he doesn't pull it out of his posterior, that's kind of the trajectory. Obviously, these things are event driven. You can't exactly predict what's going to happen. But like, we can open up the history books and we can look at these other societies where people did not pay the troops and people did not feed the troops. Sir Kenaz, what happens to these societies?
Those societies usually get overrun by hungry troops. That's, kind of a problem. It's especially a problem while you're gearing up for war.
Yeah. Brother Naji, you got your hand raised.
Go ahead, Brother Naji.
Yeah, just to Sir Kenaz's point, which was a fantastic point, which is the political analysis of what's going on. It's almost as if we're in some kind of a cryo chamber from the John Boehner, Barack Obama fiscal cliff fight in 2012, which I remember. That was probably my first, around 2010, 2012, probably my first, like, okay, I'm fully cognizant, I'm old enough, I can actually grapple with these political ideas. And I remember that so clearly. And it's like both sides still assume they're in 2012, where they can shift the blame, get political points, shed responsibility, all of these things. And then they wake up and they say, oh, actually, all our troops are fucking Zoomers. And they're on TikTok. And they actually see that both parties are responsible for their starving children. And they work in the military. So I don't think that there is a possibility for, Chuck Schumer to come out and say, oh, hey, it's all Trump's fault, and Trump to go, oh, it's the damn Democrats. I think they're both completely, I think, as in the words of Ahnaf and some of the previous episodes, I mean, they're fucking America. I mean, this is what's going on.
They're fucking America.
Yeah.
What was that meme?
You basically never fuck with people who are armed and have military training. That's generally a good strategy for life.
It's a solid Sir Kenaz, Trump is a genius. He's gonna fuck with their food and he's gonna fuck with their money at the same time.
Yeah, that's, this is like that one, I've known that Trump was unpredictable. I've always generally acted under the assumption that Trump has, he's not a great intellectual, don't get me wrong. He has a certain degree of animal cunning that he developed during decades of working in the New York City commercial real estate market, which for those who don't know is an absolute fucking Shark Tank.
Yeah.
So I always figured he had that. I start seeing like, well, I want to play like chicken with like soldiers' paychecks. I'm kind of like, Donald?
Right.
I knew you were unpredictable. I hadn't marked you for being this stupid.
It's insane. One real quick point. I know Sir Arnav has his hand up. I would be Ahnaf. You're probably the best researcher here. I don't know about our some of the other guys here, but I know, so on a military base, I grew up. My grandfather was in the Navy. I went to plenty of military bases with him. He had access. My father was in the Air Force for a little while. There was a thing called a base exchange, right? And that's where you go and it's like a Walmart on the military base, and everything's cheaper.
Yeah.
It's just you go get a fan, for fucking $7.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's there to essentially subsidize the troops who are being paid a pittance, right?
Yeah.
And so, and to try and keep them, connected to the military chain so that they can eventually renew their contract and continue serving. Okay.
Yeah.
I would be very interested. I don't know if you've seen any economists or anybody who's spoken about this. What is the rate of inflation on base exchanges? Because inflation hit all of us very hard the last 3 years.
Yeah.
What is going on with the actual, like, nuts and bolts of the American military, and how are they feeling the sting of inflation? That would, beyond. I
Yeah.
mean, and I know that's a little bit
Yeah.
ancillary, but beyond just the SNAP benefits and not being paid, like, I mean, if they're not even able to surpass Walmart prices, like, what's even the fucking point of joining the military at some level?
Yeah. I've not done a full breakdown and analysis. I'm probably gonna have to spend 4 hours to figure that out. But from what I've heard, a couple of things are universal. So feeder cattle and live cattle. There's that graph for like year-to-date pricing. Yes, if you go to those stores that are reserved just for the military, you do get a few discounts here and there. But because feeder cattle and live cattle have gone up in price by like 30, 40, 50% just this year, it doesn't really do much. There's several reasons why it has happened. There's this drought cycle. You've got problems with the feed. You've got problems with a couple of these other things, right? Long story short, it's actually pretty difficult to grow high quality beef because the cattle have to be taken care of. You got to feed them properly, obviously. When they're doing their grazing, they have to be grazed a certain way. Long story short, we're in the 2025 is a down year, but in addition to the down year, Trump had the fucking liberation tariff bullshit or whatever the fuck, right? And so to answer your question, it does help them a little bit, but yeah, bro, I mean, if you cut off the food stamps, which is looking very, very likely, and you're gonna fuck with their money, it's gonna be very bad. It's gonna be very, very bad. It's entirely possible that, and I don't believe this, but some people have made this argument to me, but they're like, okay, well, the Argentina thing, they're giving Argentina 20 billion and the 40 billion or whatever, and then they're like, oh, we'll buy Argentinian beef, even though a lot of the beef has gotten spoiled, and a lot of them have diseases, and they're also going through their own drought cycle, and all this other stuff, but we're still gonna buy it to lower prices. I heard a couple of their theories is that they're gonna do that because they want to have some kind of buffer against the coming, not just shortages, but outright outages of food, like beef and whatnot. It's possible. My own theory is that Argentina is getting all this money because like Milei and these guys and Trump's cronies, they're making a killing out of like, ravaging Argentina and just grabbing everything as the country goes bankrupt, like Argentina goes bankrupt. So that's what I believe. I don't believe there's like a plan to like supplement things with like the beef. I could be wrong. Maybe there is that plan. In that case, I guess America buys itself a few more months, right? But yeah, bro, like people have certain expectations, right? They want to eat a certain amount of calories a day, right? If you're going to be outright starving them, or even less than that, let's say you just make them like food insecure, right? Okay, well, I don't have my food stamps anymore. I gotta like eat this instead of that or whatever. I mean, yeah, that looks pretty bad, man. That looks pretty bad.
Very bad.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I gotta sign off. I gotta go see a friend who's sick, and that's Sunnah of the Prophet, obviously. So
Yeah, exactly.
and
Take it.
all right, brother. Yeah,
All right.
great talking
Same
to all
here.
of you.
Same here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Same here, same here.
All
Got
right,
stuff to do.
yes, sir.
All right. See ya, brother Naji. See ya.
All right,
Take care.
Okay.
see you later.
See ya. All right. So brother Naji is off. Sir Constantine is off. You've got Sir Axeman and Sir Arnov left. Do you guys want?
I'm going as well.
You're going as well, eh? All right.
Yeah.
Off
So
you
I got
go,
stuff
sir.
to do.
Thank you, sir.
Take care. Take care.
Take care. Looks like we are
Take care.
coming
Take care.
to an end. Well, thank you all for coming. Thanks to everybody who sat through it and listened to it. It's always
Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to ask one
Go
question.
for it.
Like last week or something, I was reading that Iran is changing the capital from Tehran because of water issues. Is it true?
That's kind of a long-term plan. It's kind of the same reason why Egypt is changing their capital. It has to do with
Mm-hmm.
the fact that long story short, Tehran has an average elevation of like 5,000 to 6,000 feet. It has more people
Mm-hmm.
in its metropolitan area than New York City, so about 17 million people. There's a lot of
Yes.
issues with like water resources at that elevation. So it's not really impacted by America and these other things. It's something that they've been discussing for
Mm-hmm.
decades. In fact, if you go all the
Mm-hmm.
way back to 1979, right after the Islamic Revolution, they were talking about like relocation, right? But it's hard to do because, like, again, Tehran is a huge place, right? And so you would have to change all the government buildings. A couple of these official places got to be moved as well, right? But that's kind of what's going on. It's more like a long-term thing. It's not like, okay, we're changing our capital because we expect the Americans to invade us. That's not the reason. Yeah.
Yeah. No, my question to you was that due to water, like in that sort of area in the Middle East, Africa, do you see more such changes, or like is it like obviously these are very long term changes, but do you see the possibility of it?
Yeah, no, it's going to happen more and more. Like people will relocate to something that's a port city. Option one. Option two is you would relocate to something that is closer to a large river source or what have you, right? And option three is, you kind of have it near like a big lake or something, right? Tehran, to my understanding, doesn't have that many nice water bodies near it, right? So it makes sense for them to change the capital. But yeah, no, like geography is a very, very big limitation, right? And you're gonna see more and more people plan for these things, right? Like Beijing is a nice capital city, but honestly, they might just move the capital southward after a while, just because of like climate change and these other things. Even though Beijing's a nice port city, just because like it would be better to have a capital for China, which is like a deep sea port. I don't think Beijing is the best deep sea port. I think that designation would go to like Shanghai or one of these other places, right? So you'll see this more and more, definitely, yeah, over the next few decades.
Thanks.
No worries, no worries. Was that your final question, Sir Arnav, or would you like
Yes.
to?
Yes.
Understood. All right, Sir Kenaz. So I guess we can now close off after
that
that
sounds like
particular.
that sounds great. Thank you to Sir Arnav. So thank you to all our listeners, and just keep in mind, folks, the doom cometh.
The doom cometh, guys. Take care. See ya.
Your soul is mine.